And now, the show you've all been waiting for. It's Vox Bellator. Games, comics, movies, it's all discussed here, live and without filter. If you aren't listening, what are you doing with your life? And now, give it up for your host, Sumotacular, and his co-host, the Smed. Let's get into it.
Hello everyone, how's it going today? This is your host, Sumotacular, coming at you live. As always, I am joined by my esteemed co-host, the one, the only, the Smed Head. Smed, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Woo! Glad to be back, Sumo. Glad to be back.
Fantastic. And we have today a special topic. We're going to break away from 40K here, which was always our intention. This is a I guess you could say, pop culture podcast and stream. We like to talk about everything geeky, man. We have a good time with it. But tonight, what are we discussing, Smed?
We are discussing the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yes! Woo! All right. Now,
who doesn't like all the Marvel movies? I mean, come on. Okay, well, there's some. I mean, everybody can agree on that nobody likes. But
yeah.
The entire universe itself, come on. I mean, it's great for what they created.
It really is. It's been very impressive over the course of so many films. I mean, they have really done a fantastic job for the most part. 3 phases, each phase with, 5 or 6 films per. And it's just absolutely fantastic.
Oh, and the third phase had almost double that.
Yes, absolutely. Like, phase 3 was ridiculous. But really, phase 3 has it's really 2 phases smashed into one, ultimately.
It is. It is. It is. I mean, you could honestly made the Infinity War and Endgame into a whole phase itself if you really wanted to.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You really didn't even need to put any movies in between them. Hint.
Garbage.
Indeed. But let's get started, and we're going to go all the way back to the beginning of the MCU, the very first film that ultimately established what was to come over the next 12 years almost. Iron Man in 2008.
Who can forget?
Oh my goodness. And I remember... Oh, go ahead, buddy.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I saw it 3 times in theaters.
Yeah.
I did. I saw it twice with my father, and the third time was with my father and my brother. So, we're all big Marvel geeks.
Me personally, I went once by myself just to see it. Caught an early matinee showing, and even then, there were people in the theater. It was like a Tuesday, too, so it was really weird. And, of course, they were all fat neck beards like myself. And that was the first time I saw it. And then all the guys, myself, an old friend from school, Skylar, and another of our friends, Ryan, we all went and saw it. And it was absolutely fantastic both times. I love that movie. And I remember when they were talking about it in like different gaming magazines and stuff like that, because they kind of delved into other pop culture mediums back then too. But everybody was talking about definitely. RDJ getting cast, and they're like, could this be his big comeback? Could he redeem himself after all the, the Hollywood boy wonder drama from back in the day, and he'd gotten out of rehab.
That's what made him Tony Stark, though.
It really is.
I mean, it really was the nail or the hammer on the nail. It was a knockout of the park. I mean, there's nothing else you could say. He embraced it so much, like he was Tony Stark
he
throughout
really
his whole career. I mean, you can look at every interview, everything. He kept that charisma the whole time because that's who he was.
Right. And the guy basically made millions of dollars just being himself on
No,
screen.
hundreds of millions of dollars.
He really didn't have to act that much in these movies. Let's face facts here. And yet he is probably either the most or the second most beloved character out of the whole franchise. Because to me, it's kind of a toss-up between Chris Evans as Steve Rogers, Captain America, and Tony Stark as, or Robert Downey Jr. See, I'm doing it now. Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark Iron Man.
It's hard to separate the two.
It really is.
I mean, you got to give it to RDJ though. I mean, he started it. Marvel did not think that Iron Man was going to be what it was, and after it took off, they knew they had something.
Right.
And they ran with it, and they did it perfectly with all the origin stories of Captain America, and Thor, and Hulk, regardless if he was replaced, because I honestly think Ruffalo was better. But just the whole setup to the first Avengers movie was absolutely incredible.
It was.
I mean, there is no beating that first Avengers movie where they bring all of them together, none of them get along, and the story, the plot, everything that they put together to bring them all back together, it was just amazing.
Absolutely fantastic. And let's break down Iron Man real quick. Okay, so you've got rich playboy weapons developer Tony Stark.
Right.
He's perfectly fine developing weapons for the military. He makes a ton of money at it. You know, he was a wunderkind when he was a younger guy. I mean, MIT in his teens, early teens. Graduated.
Graduated.
Mm-hmm.
He was 20.
Yeah, and absolutely blowing everybody away. A good friendship with his father's friend and Obadiah Stane. Lived it up, Playboy style. Didn't like as far as the awards and stuff like that. Couldn't care less. But when it came to the lifestyle, the fast cars, the beautiful women, the fame and fortune of it, he ate it up. And he was the smartest guy in the room, and he knew it.
Exactly. That was his problem. He knew it. And he made everybody around him just feel like idiots. That's why he can be a sarcastic asshole and get away with it.
That's exactly.
He's fucking Tony Stark. What are you going to say? I mean...
But the transformation with him getting wounded and abducted in the desert, taken in by the Ten Rings terrorist organization, the friendship he had with the doctor, that in later movies that he actually had met him before, and it showed,
right.
And it's talked about that.
3,
mm-hmm.
Right.
And it talked about that in the movie, we met once at the conference in Geneva. But, the first Iron Man suit, the Iron Man Mark 1, him losing Ho.
Oh, yeah. Out of the cave.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, that was just great.
All that was fantastic.
I mean, you can't beat the whole first movie, but even the Mark II Iron Man after he got out of the cave, the Mark II Iron Man suit was just awesome. I mean, you had the tank missile.
Shout out to How It Should Have Ended. Thank you for giving us that.
Yes.
Fantastic, guys. Absolutely.
Never going away.
No. We even use it in 40K when we get a good destruction on a vehicle. You just, shit. Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. And really set the stage, and it showed that superhero movies were no longer these moderately subdued, team films, because X-Men had been successful for several years by this time.
Right, but it was successful through, like you're saying, the younger population. And I mean, some of the older, people who started, with Marvel back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s who were just interested in the new film, like even Spider Man, who was in what, 2000, 2001.
Yeah, and
And I mean, that all kind of started it, just like the Fantastic Four and we won't talk about the Rise of the Silver Surfer,
no.
but, and,
Talk about the what now?
yeah, exactly. I mean, and you can even bring up the Punisher with Thomas Jane, which I
Yes.
personally love.
Same.
I mean,
Love that movie.
Just a great origin story of, I'll go ahead and say it, my favorite character. So,
Absolutely.
but on another point, like I said, when Iron Man came out, that was a totally new stepstone for Marvel, and they knew it.
It was.
And they ran with it and made billions and billions of dollars.
A freaking man. And that was the thing. It took it from being still successful but niche as far as superheroes go. It took it into the mainstream. And it tapped into that vein, and it has rolled on ever since. I mean, it has just been an absolute high for superhero movies since then. As long as they're good and as long as they, are MCU for the most part. Like, and there's been some successful X-Men films since Iron Man came out, but I think we can all agree Dark Phoenix kind of, that was a... Oof.
Oh, God. Oh.
So this is how it ends. Not with a bang, but with a whimper. Oh, boy.
Yeah. and on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like, there have been great films that haven't made, as much as I thought they should, as like the first Ant-Man. I thought was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Even Doctor Strange was amazing. You know what I mean? They didn't make up to $1 billion like, all the new characters that are coming in as a Black Panther and all those kinds of characters. But they were still just great movies, and you cannot just help but love them. And
Absolutely.
at the end of every phase, or even during other movies, when they bring them all together, it just makes it that much better.
Yeah, absolutely correct. It really just it blew up, man. It absolutely blew up. And now that we've talked about the first just opening fusillade with Iron Man, let's talk about number 2 in the MCU, The Incredible Hulk, which came out a little later that same year, if I'm not mistaken.
Mr. Edward Norton.
Oh, boy.
Which wasn't bad. Like,
It wasn't.
I've seen every movie, in the theaters at least once per movie, if not twice to 3 times. And I thought it was a great movie. It was a great setup for the leader at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Abomination.
Yes.
And they kept General Ross.
Yes.
It was all a great setup. It was just, there was all this confrontation about Edward Norton thinking he was worth more than RDJ for the Avengers movie and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and then...
And you know what? He is a great actor. He is worth a lot of money. But RDJ started this.
That's exactly right. And another big thing was, you see with all the other actors, they're out there promoting the films very heavily. They get along, well, at least they pretend to get along in some cases.
Okay, most of the original ones, they do get along.
Right. And,
and some of the newer ones, they get accepted and get their own roles, as a, Falcon and Spider-Man and Winter Soldier and, those type of characters. But there are others that have came in that, haven't got, along personally or politically or, all that. Not going to say any names. But,
yeah.
And it's not any personal attacks to me. It's just what I've seen within them.
Exactly. And that's...
I could care less. I just want to see a great movie with a great plot and a great story.
Yes, and decent acting. That's all you have to give us. Just give us decent acting. Get into the role.
Change your facial expression.
That's one piece of brie that don't want no crackers. All right.
And on to the next.
Yeah. But just real quick, I just played the doctor, became the leader.
Well, was supposed to become the leader. We don't know if he's still there or not, and it's been 10 plus years, so
Yeah.
I don't think he's coming back. If they bring him back, that would be insane. Because I mean, it did take him 10 years to bring back the Red Skull.
Yeah, this is very true. And I think Tim Blake Nelson as the leader could definitely evoke that kind of menace. You know, that very much a threat, but very cool, very collected, very
Definitely.
You know,
I mean, just how they brought back the Red Skull. Like I said, it was perfectly timed on how they did it. You know, he disappeared, nobody knew where he went, and the guy who played him, you know, after the first one was like, "I'm not playing no more." Period.
Yeah.
Which, you know what I mean? It is what it is, but just how they brought him back so many years later and just recollected how he got to where he was.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It was pretty awesome. I mean, nobody before you went to see Infinity War expected to see the Red Skull.
No.
I mean,
No.
that's all there is to it.
Not at all. Not at all. And then we've got the second Iron Man entry. Iron Man 2.
Whiplash.
Right. And this was definitely, to me, this was the weakest of the Iron Man films.
I don't know, man. Iron Man 3 was good. I don't know. It's kind of a tie between 2 and 3 to me. I mean, it really is.
Understandable. There's a couple of things for 3 that give it the slight edge for me. I didn't like the whole Harley thing. I didn't see the reason why they needed to bring in, you know, plucky child sidekick, you know, for the movie. It just, I get it. It's Disney. They were trying to, you know, appeal to the kids a little bit. Like, I could be the next Iron Man.
Well, which they did bring him back at the end of Endgame.
Yes.
I mean,
that they did.
That's a big plot right there. Mm-hmm. Like with the fact that he was there by himself. I mean, that says a lot. But like I said, Iron Man 2, like I said, from reading about it and seeing the extra scenes and everything, you know, Whiplash had a lot more character to him.
Yes, and
because Mickey Rourke, who played him, you know, he put a lot of time and effort into his character. It's just they wanted to focus more on RDJ being Iron Man, which you got to get. He just pronounced he's Iron Man, so
yes,
it's going to be about him. And they did get to introduce War Machine.
Yes, they brought back Rhodey, now with Don Cheadle, which, personal opinion, great move. I don't
Absolutely
think Terrence Howard made a very good Colonel James Rhodes. Just personal opinion.
Well, I thought he was good in the first one, but I don't think he would have made a good War Machine. I couldn't see him going on through all these movies like Don Cheadle has.
Mm-hmm.
You know, through 10 years of movies. No, I agree. I do not think Terrence Howard could have handled that.
Yep. And we got the introduction of a Miss Natasha Romanoff.
Exactly.
The Black Widow.
A big boost in the MCU right there.
Huge. And quite a bit of bust. But,
Giggity.
But fantastic, and honestly, I loved how they brought her in and everything. Loved that she kicked ass. That scene in the movie where her and Happy are going up against all the security guards and everything.
Yeah, he's fighting the one guy the whole time. She takes down, you know, the whole hallway full of guys, probably, you know, 10 or 12 of them. He's like, I got him. And he looks up and everybody else is down and she's gone. He's like, shit. Priceless moments like that.
Oh my goodness, yes. Absolutely. And it wasn't a terrible movie by any stretch. It
lacked on the final battle.
It did.
Epic scene. You know what I mean? It had all the drones and everything coming in. You know, and they took them all out in very, you know, Iron Man War Machine fashion, talking shit to each other, saying who's better, who's got the bigger gun, just little quips here and there, which were great. But when Whiplash showed up, it really wasn't what it should have been.
Agreed. Yeah, it should have been a better fight with Whiplash versus War Machine and Iron Man. It could have been done so much better. And I don't know who choreographed everything, who did all the design and stuff. I don't know how much input Jon Favreau had on that. But it was disappointing. It was a disappointing final battle. In all honesty.
It was. Like I said, the whole drone fight and everything was cool. But like I said, when the big bad shows up, he's gone in 2-3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, all right, come on, it's Whiplash. Like, he's the main character. He worked hard on his character, and give him his spotlight.
Right. Especially after you had, a 15-20 minute sequence in Iron Man 1 with Iron Man versus the Ironmonger, Obadiah Stane.
Right.
I mean, it was a big letdown. It was. But the post-credit scene, we got to see Phil, old Agent Coulson, headed out to New Mexico.
Exactly. It just made it that more awesome. It's like, oh my God. It gets you that much more pumped at the end of it. Like, oh, they're setting it up for even more.
Yes. And then we got Thor a year later. Or not even a full year. It was, well, no, I think it was. Because what?
It was,
November, I think.
Yeah, it was
May.
It was really close to a year. And yeah, I'll go and say it. Chris Hemsworth's Thor on the first Thor, he played a great Thor. Arrogant, cocky, just this beautiful blonde-haired golden god who knows he's the best. You know what I mean? Just like the scene with the Frost Giants when they go there, when he confronts them after disrupting his king, being crowned king. And as soon as he says something, Loki's just like, oh, shit. Like, he knows Thor's going to do something. And he literally takes out pretty much his whole army. You know what I mean? Everybody's surviving, but not doing what Thor is doing. And like I said, he played a perfect Thor, and his father casting him away, making him realize what his power is worth, what he should be worthy of doing if he deserves this power. And the whole story and plot to me was great.
Yes.
And I know it didn't do as good as a lot of Marvel movies did, in the box office, which the box office I could care less about. It's more of the story, plot, and the character. He played the character absolutely perfect to me.
Oh, he nailed it. He is Thor, no doubt about it. And
100%.
And let's be honest here. Thor had the best villain, regular, not like, end of the world kind of villain, in Tom Hiddleston's Loki.
Not just that, but, and I know his fight with the Destroyer was short, ended as well. Because the Destroyer, I mean, he's the guardian of the vault. I mean, it should have been a little tougher to beat him, even though he is Thor. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I get it, because he realized at that point he knew what he had to do to sacrifice himself, to keep them safe, to get his powers back, and to kill the Destroyer. 100% get it. But if you've ever read the comics, it's also the Destroyer. Okay, this guy's taken out multiple Marvel teams in the comics.
Yes. It is.
I mean, but like you said, it set it up for Loki so well with the story and plot of the whole movie that you can't be mad about it. Like, it was perfect. It really was.
Absolutely. I mean, it really was a good movie. And I don't put it up there as one of the best from Marvel, but it was a fantastic origin story for a fantastic character who it would take him another 2 films to really have an amazing solo outing. and I guess you could say it's not quite solo outing, having Hulk and Mark Ruffalo, in Ragnarok with him, but it was his movie, and he nailed it. And really, this growth of him, going from the arrogant, cocky god to gaining a little humility to, suffering some serious loss in the second film to finally just kind of coming to terms with it and realizing, you know what? I'm a fighter. That's what I do. I might as well get used to it. That's a really great arc over the phases.
Yes, but a lot of people complain. They're like, Thor's accent changed over from the first to the second to the third movie. Yes, you got to think from the first to the second to the third, how many movies he's been in, how long he's been on Earth. Mm-hmm. He's humanized himself. This is the cinematic universe. They're not going to stick exactly to the comics. They never do. Mm-mm. They swap it up every movie. They stick to the storyline plot, but change it to the new age. You know what I mean? And I love how they humanize him like that in Ragnarok.
Yes.
And having Hulk in there, just throwing in a little bit of World War Hulk, fight scenes and stuff, and hints at other characters and stuff. Like Thor Ragnarok's, it's in my top 4. I love that movie.
Absolutely.
It's
fantastic, dude. It's a wonderful film. I mean, the very beginning where he's talking to Surtur, it's just hilarious.
It is just an awesome battle scene. He literally takes out Surtur and his entire army and the dragon. Oh, when he puts the hammer in the dragon's mouth is by far one of the funniest moments. He's like, you know what? I need a way out. Come on.
Oh gosh.
All right, but on to the next though.
Yes. Captain
America.
The first Avenger. Oh, Captain America.
To me, besides Iron Man, the best origin story movie. Because Chris Evans, not to bring politics into this, but as liberal as he is, plays the perfect, most conservative man on the earth. And that shows you his acting ability.
Oh, yes. And
he really does play the perfect Captain America. Like, I can't think of anybody who would have played a better Captain America than he did from beginning to end.
Oh, he absolutely nails it, man. It is Captain America, the First Avenger is such a great film because he does the 90-pound asthmatic, just having so much heart. He does that well. When he undergoes the transformation, he nails it. He emotes fantastically. Like, he does a great job throughout the entire movie. He nails every bit.
They really followed the comics really well on that at the very beginning. Like, him trying to join the army over and over and over and over again.
Yep.
And, they kept denying him. Finally, the one person found him, which was the doctor. And like you said, they're like, all right, go ahead. You're in. He gets the serum after he passes, the test. Mm-hmm. I'm putting up my finger quotes right now. And, shows that it takes heart. He gets the test, like I said, and then, like I said, right after that, it shows just who he is. And then it shows him, being taken over by propaganda to promote the American people, just like in the comics, which I love. And then he realizes, look, I have these powers. I can make a difference. And he takes it upon himself to do that.
Yep.
And shows the government, like, look, I can be of use. I'm going to do it my way, or y'all ain't having me at all.
Yes,
and you know what? They were like, okay, go ahead. Go punch Hitler in the mouth for real.
Kick some Nazi ass. And
exactly.
It really is a fantastic film, and his friendship with Bucky, his interactions with Howard Stark, and
Oh, it all ties it together so
Oh
well.
yeah, oh yeah.
Gosh.
And freaking Peggy Carter,
Yep.
Margaret, she's
Yep.
and let me say something right now. That woman is so fine. Oh my god. Especially in that with
Ooh.
that 40s kind of, I don't, is it bouffant hairdo or whatever? Oh, just something about that, man.
I don't know. All I know, she's thicker than 2% milk. Woo.
Jeez.
I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, even in the end game, it's like, damn.
Oh, I know it. I know it. I'm like, I just thinking like, I volunteer.
Yeah.
I'm in. Hell, give
Hey,
me a rifle. Let's
yeah.
go.
Where do I sign? Left ass cheek. Got it.
Branded property, U.S. Army. But
Screw that. Property of the Smed head. This is mine.
Jeez Louise, I love it, man.
But at the end, the end credit scene, he wakes up from being frozen after making the ultimate sacrifice, thinking he's dead. And they try to, welcome him in a warm way, thinking he's in, the old age. But he's so smart because it showed in the film, all he does is read books and, tactics and, everything like that. He's a very smart guy. He learns very quick. And they're playing that baseball game,
Yeah.
and they send in the old school looking nurse, and he's like, "Where am I?" She tells him. He's like, "No, I was at this game." And then breaks out, and it's 70 years later. I mean, God, I couldn't imagine what he was thinking, but like I said, it set it up perfect, bringing in Nick Fury and everybody after that.
Right.
Just setting up the Avengers movie just
My
to the T.
my one nitpick, why in the world does Shield have an office right in the middle of Times Square?
You know what? I can't argue with any of that because it does not make. But it is Shield. They probably have buildings in every major city of every continent. To be honest with you,
This is very, very true.
I mean, this is Shield
Probably
we're talking
dead
about.
on. Dead on. But luckily, him waking up in the present day, it sets it right up for the next film, the culmination of Phase 1, The Avengers.
God.
Dude.
I watched it the other day.
Oh, it's still fantastic.
It's a great movie. It brings the culmination of all of these great characters together for all different purposes, and they don't get along like they're not supposed to because they don't know each other. Everybody's got a different ego, different purpose. And in the end, like I said, you could put it in Tony Stark's speech to Loki, like, you're gonna lose. Yeah, I have an army. We have a Hulk. But, I mean, there's nothing you can say, nothing you can do. You might destroy the earth, but you can be damn well sure we'll avenge it. It's like, oh God, I'm cramping. It's like, right in the feels because you knew it was coming at that moment. It was like, oh shit.
Oh, just so amazing.
It was just so. Just the movie up and down was just so epic. Like storyline from beginning to end is just amazing.
It really was. There are very, very, very few issues with the film. I thought it was fantastic. My only issues really were the Whedonisms. Now, you may not be familiar with the term, Smed, but a Whedonism is a quippy, witty remark in the middle of a really intense, like, combat scene or something like that.
Where right, well, like Iron Man and Thor fighting, or Captain America and Iron Man going back and forth, and just it's not quite one-liners, but it like you said, it's in the middle of a serious moment, and then something funny gets said, which I get, and they ran with that through the whole three phases, which has helped movies a ton and has hurt movies a ton. But
Very true.
I will agree on that part of it. Yes, I mean there were some quitty one-liners, but
Which
they were all in all, like, it all just molded together so well. Like, you can't not like this movie.
right. And honestly, every fight in the entire film was fantastic. The, Iron Man, Thor, and Cap all together, that was
Oh
great.
God,
The
there's only one God, ma'am. I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
great line from Cap, and it really
Right.
it catches him. Like, that's, and I think of the meme every time.
Well, and it catches Stark's, his personality as well. It's like, kid, we need a plan of attack. I have a plan. Attack.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, well, I mean, nail on the head.
Yes.
Hammer it in.
Yeah, that's just when you're a hammer, everything seems like a nail. Oh God, and it really does. It catches the differences in the mentality of the different Avengers.
Right, each character. That's what I really like. Even Natasha Romanoff. Like, I mean, it catches her character. With the Hulk the entire time and everything. How she tries to keep him calm and all that.
And can we just say, the fight between Hulk and Thor on the helicarrier was absolutely fantastic.
I don't know why it didn't go on longer. There should have been more screen time on that.
It was so
But
good.
it did show that, you know what I mean, Thor can take on Hulk if he wants to. Just like they did in Ragnarok. Like, Thor won that fight.
Yep. He's cheated of it.
Right.
Way to go, Grandmaster.
Hulk's a brawler. Thor is a fighter.
Yes.
And that, it really showed the difference on that. But like I said, all in all, I mean, you can't complain about the whole movie. I mean, just like Tony Stark, trying to explain stuff to Steve Rogers, Captain America, about the electrical stuff going on. What do you see? It seems to run off some electrical system. Well, you're not wrong.
Yeah, the interplay, it was all
it's just the little quips like that just make it that much better.
Yes. It really, it was just absolutely fantastic. And then the invasion of the helicarrier, Cap and Iron Man doing their thing, and then the Battle of New York, the incident, as it would come to be known in the Netflix series. And
right, the incident, yeah. Oh God! Only thing about the whole movie was, like, in Thor they introduced Hawkeye, and Hawkeye was pretty much not a bad guy, but mind control. Most of the movie, which I get, it had to somebody had to be that character.
Yeah.
And it being Hawkeye and being as smart as he is and knowing what he knows about S.H.I.E.L.D., it makes sense.
Yes.
I know people were butthurt about that. I mean, I was one of them, but it made sense in the whole story and plot they were telling. And just the revenge he got. I mean, it really showed how badass he was just with the bow and in hand to hand.
Oh yes, he's a beast. He is a very, very, very good athlete. He is a good fighter, a superior marksman with that bow. Honestly, you could give him anything and he'd probably be Deadeye Dan with it.
Oh, I mean, no, he was shooting down alien ships, not even looking. That's what he was like, hey, Stark, try a tight corner. They can't bank worth the shit. I will, Roger. Like I said, it's just little things like that just show just how awesome these characters really are.
Yeah.
That they actually did their homework and take to the heart.
And that is one thing I'll give to the scumbag Joss Whedon. He does have a lot of knowledge of the comics.
Exactly. He took the little things into the concept. He did. Like like you're saying, some of the little things that we didn't like about the movie helped make the movie.
Yes, absolutely right. And it ended on a fantastic note. Love.
Shawarma.
And let's jump into phase 2 here. The very first movie of it, Iron Man 3. So,
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. They ruined the fucking Mandarin.
yes, they absolutely did.
Excuse my language to the younger audience,
Yeah,
but they ruined the fucking Mandarin. They set up the 10 rings from the beginning, and they ruined the fucking Mandarin.
It's like, and that's what really ticked me off. They had talked about it, it was like, oh yeah, with all 3 movies, eventually it's going to come, the Mandarin's the guy behind the scenes, pulling the strings. He's going to be the Emperor Palpatine of the Iron Man trilogy. No. Absolutely, that completely sold us, a horse with no teeth, man.
Exactly.
Just absolutely terrible. What they did. I did think it was hilarious. It was a neat subversion, but not what I wanted. I wanted to see the Mandarin. I wanted to see a super powerful. And they eventually introduced a form of magic with Doctor Strange, so I don't know why they couldn't have done something like that. But
no, I do like the concept they went with. I get it. Like I said, the final battle scene was amazing.
Yes.
With all the Iron Man suit, it shows his, PTSD from the Battle of New York, which makes sense with him being the most humanized person there and the most, social, I would say, person who has to think about this stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And what does he do with his time? He's paranoid. He makes all of these suits.
Right.
And that's what made the last fight scene so epic.
Yes. And, we see that need to be proactive in the defense of Earth and everything. We see it carry over into the second Avengers film.
My bad.
Oh, all good. Just get your stuff set and you're good. I barely heard anything on my end, so it's all
Nah, I bumped my mic with my knee.
I've had it happen.
Sorry, I'm 6'8". No big deal.
I can vouch for this. He is extremely tall, and it's somewhat intimidating. I'm 6'2", and I feel short next to him, so it's kind of sad. But but with Iron Man 3, I thought the introduction of Extremis was pretty cool. That was one storyline in the Iron Man comics I really dug. Like, it was neat as all get out when in the comics, Tony fights the Extremis soldier. I'm trying to remember his name. It's something with an M, but anyways, fights him, gets his ass handed to him by an Extremis enhanced human, and then is so badly broken that he actually takes Extremis, modifies it, right, and injects it into himself so that he can have, direct connection to his suit, where
right,
it's running off of his own nervous system.
It's pretty much what they put in Infinity War was supposed to be in Iron Man 3. Mm-hmm. It was supposed to be a nanite suit that he could control by his brain, which they tried to interpret, at the very beginning with the Mark, was it 42?
Yeah.
The suit he called at the end, that was trying to be badass, and then it broke into pieces.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, they try to interpret. They do. They try to interpret everything that they can, to make it a good movie. It's just there's so much in the actual comics that they can't put in. Like, if they put everything in the comics that was in that, into an actual movie, there'd be 5 to 6 hour movies per movie.
Right.
So they have to limit it and change it up, which I totally get. And like I said, I saw Iron Man 3 twice in theaters. Like I said, I've seen almost every Marvel movie at least twice in theaters. I mean, it's a great movie. I don't like what they did with Rhodey, because at the end, he could have made a big difference. You know, Jarvis was running all the suits, going around killing all the Mandarin guys. Rhodey saved the president. He could have flew the president somewhere safe and came back within a minute. But
Yeah.
they were in Miami.
Yes.
It's not like they were so far off the coast like he had to fly 1,000 miles, which, I mean, if anybody knows, the Iron Man suits can fly very, very fast.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Iron Man 1, the Mark II was faster than a jet.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So he could have flown the president wherever he needed to be safe, came back, and helped save the world.
Dude, he would have just had to flown into the middle of little Cuba, dropped him off. Those suckers are patriotic as all hell. President would have been fine. Come right back. No problem.
I mean, hell, he could have flown just to Alabama. Everybody like, hey, Prezi.
This is very
Roll Tide.
true. Indeed.
You here to see Nick Saban? He's up there in Tuscaloosa. You know, and been back within minutes.
Yeah.
But like I said, other than that, I mean, like I said, between Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3, like I said before, it's kind of a tie with me. Just, like I said, the storyline of him, you know, blacking out and then waking up and falling and, you know, getting this kid into it, which I get was part of the storyline in the comics, who ends up becoming an Iron Man and blah, blah, blah. And they did bring it back in an Endgame. So I think he's going to play a big part, which makes me like the movie more. You know, I mean, that says a lot about the kid, that they brought him back all the way at the end of the Endgame at his funeral by himself. Mm-hmm. That's going to play a big part in Phase 4 to me.
By the way, folks, spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about all of them. If you haven't seen all the movies, just stop watching the stream unless you're okay with spoilers.
Yeah, so. Sorry, not sorry.
But, and I will say, it was a neat subversion with Aldrich Killian.
Definitely. I mean, yes, the way they met, because he met him at the same time that he met the doctor that, you know, helped save his life in the first one.
Yeah,
like I said, I mean, it was a good whole plot setup. It's just the mid story to me was and I mean, you can't help but like, you know, and love the end fight scene.
Oh yes, it was,
you know, yeah. I mean, just his charisma. You know, he's like, "Is that? Yep. Are those? Uh-huh. It's Christmas, boys. Let's take them." He crosses his chest. Let's take them to church. And they'd start whooping ass. I mean, you can't help but love it. Like I said, the cinematic universe knows what they're doing when it comes to the audience itself, who hasn't, you know, read a comic or anything. Mm. It really appeals to them. And people who's never read a comic and have seen the movies and actually pay attention, it really all is, you know, incoherency. Besides the first Spider-Man, but we'll come to that later.
Yeah. But after Iron Man 3, we've got Thor: The Dark World.
Okay, do we have to talk about this or just
We're gonna have to talk a little bit about it. Even the disappointing ones we're gonna talk about. We're not gonna treat it like Lorgar and Gilliman in the Primarch stream.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and say it. Thor: The Dark World was not terrible. It wasn't great either.
Yeah,
it was in between good and terrible. The story wasn't bad. It set up for the, you know, the Reality Stone.
Yeah.
It showed a little more of Thor's powers. Mm-hmm. You know, stuff like that, controlling the weather and everything like that. But Malekith, that's what killed it for me, was Malekith in the comics. He's a badass.
Yes. He is terrifying in the comics, man.
Yes. I mean, he's been one of Thor's nemesis for, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not 1,000+ years. And on here it's just like, oh, they show up, take the Aether. Thor has to stop them. It's just like, all right. They had their good funny moments. They had, there was some good little plots in there, but all in all, it was, to me, one of the worst. It's a lower tier Marvel movie.
For sure. Absolutely agree. It's definitely, for me, it's definitely in the bottom three. Definitely in the bottom three. Now, I will say the end scene where they met with the Collector, the Warriors 3 or the Companions 3 or whatever they're called.
Yeah,
Handing over the Collector, that was a good little tie-in for Guardians of the Galaxy later on. But after the disappointment that was Thor: The Dark World, we got, in my opinion, the single best solo movie in the entire MCU, and that is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. You want to talk about an amazing freaking film. Holy cow, man. Winter Soldier is just, it's a spy film with superheroes. There is nothing better than that. It's absolutely fantastic. It's just,
there's not one Marvel fan out there that can tell you that it is not a top 3 to 5 film in the entire cinematic universe. Like, that movie was so great, just top to bottom. It nailed Captain America. It nailed the whole, Shield and Hydra, takeover on the inside, and just, God, man, just top to bottom. I remember seeing it in theaters on that Thursday night midnight opening, and I went and saw it 2 more times that weekend. Like, it was that good. I saw it that Thursday night at midnight. It was like, I'm seeing this again. Friday night at 9:00, I saw it. The next Saturday, saw it again. Like, it was that good. I mean, you cannot love that movie, just top to bottom. There is nothing you cannot like about that movie.
it's really not. I mean, just the elevator fight scene alone is probably one of the absolute coolest scenes in Marvel.
Oh yeah,
Dude, just
oh yeah,
completely surrounded by enemies, and he still manages to knock
and he
out.
knows it. That's the thing. He's like, anybody want to get out?
Just
And just whoop their ass, jumps out 40 stories, lands on the shield, and they're like, holy shit. Close the gates, and he's gone. And I mean, and it shows how smart Captain America is. Like, at this point, he's been working with Shield, doing all these ops for him.
mm-hmm.
He knows everything top to bottom. And just how he takes out, the shit that's trying to stop him. I mean, he knew exactly what to do.
Yep.
He threw his shield, jammed up the engine, jumped on top, knew exactly where to throw his shield, before, to make it go down completely, exploded it, and he was able to get away. That's Captain America. If you've ever read the comics, that is Captain America. He is ready for anybody and everybody. He trains to fight anybody all the time, 100%.
Yeah, he's ready for anything you can throw at him. Even if it takes him a second to adjust, he is going to adjust, and he is going to come out on top. Right. That's just the way he is. It's
the man that never stops trying.
That's exactly right. That boy ain't got no quit in him.
Or in the first Captain America, he makes me cry.
But and another great thing with the Winter Soldier is the introduction of Sam Wilson, the Falcon.
On your left.
Dude, he is such a ray of sunshine in this movie. Like, he nothing gets him down.
No, and that's what I like about it. Like, he, Captain America respects him. And it takes a lot for Captain America just to respect you.
Yep.
And he only knew so much about him, but when everything fell down on top of him, where did he run? Straight to Sam Wilson.
That's right.
You know, he opened the door. What are you doing here? Everyone we know is trying to kill us. Well, not everyone. Come on. I got breakfast if y'all eat that kind of stuff, you know. But, you know, it's just one of the things like they built a brotherhood, you know, kind of thing. And he knew he was just a straight up guy. And that it really shows in Endgame, you know what I mean, at the end of it.
Yep. Yep. It was absolutely fantastic. Again, my personal number one solo film in the whole franchise. Absolutely fantastic.
Yes, 100%. It's Captain America: Winter Soldier. There's nothing else anybody can say to me to change my mind.
No, agreed. I'm right there with you. And now, off of a fantastic, and I don't know if you can even call Winter Soldier a solo film. I consider it one because that's all about Cap. Bucky, you know, as the antagonist, but also as, you know, the lost friend, the one you have to save.
Exactly. That's what made it even better, though.
Yes. And but yeah, to me, Winter Soldier's great. But off of that, we hop to the next one in Phase 2, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, come on. Anybody from ages 4 to 48, it doesn't matter. You have to love this movie, and you know you laughed 50 to 60% of the time.
Dude, I won't even lie, man. Like, I was afraid I was going to pee myself throughout most of the movie. I was fighting it so hard.
I mean, it was hilarious. Like, you can't, and it did have its serious moments, and it tied in so well, you know, later on. Like, it shows how it ties in, and it's just, it's amazing. It's an amazing film. You know, with James Gunn is an amazing director.
Absolutely, dude. Everything about the film was fantastic. I did not have any complaints about it. In all honesty, it was great.
I mean, yeah, you can't. I mean, there was sacrifice. There was, you know, so much hilarity. There was seriousness. It had a great plot, you know, and it tied in Thanos so well to the MCU because they only teased him after the end of the first Avengers.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It tied in everything so well just in the middle of Phase 2 on what they were building up to be this huge, you know, massive thing. And that was the first time Josh Brolin was actually Thanos.
Yes. Yes, and nailed it.
Yeah.
You could just feel the menace dripping off of him.
Right.
It was, God, what a good movie. Honestly, to me, the high point of the entire film too was the freaking prison breakout.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
it perfectly encapsulates what made the movie so great. Amazing action, great interplay between all the actors,
right,
and absolutely obscenely hilarious comedy.
Oh, it was so. I mean, it was just great. I mean, as much as I love Star-Lord in the MCU. You can't help in the Guardians movies. Rocket and Groot make the movies.
They do,
and they're the animated characters. Like they're all CGI, and that's what's crazy. Is like they make the movies, and Groot only says 3 words.
That's it. I am Groot.
Yeah,
and it's almost kind of like you know, when you think about it, Rocket and Groot almost have a kind of Han Solo Chewbacca vibe to them.
Exactly.
You know?
That's exactly what they were going for, and they nailed it.
Absolutely freaking nailed it. I mean, it's just, God, they did such a great job with that film. All credit to James Gunn. Good job. Wonderful movie. And now we've got the second to last film in Phase 2, the second Avengers movie, Age of Ultron. I'm going to let you start us off here.
All right.
Smed,
all right.
what do we think?
All right. Well, I'll start off by saying I know a lot of people hated on this movie. and I will go ahead and say, I hate you. Because this movie was good. Now, it wasn't the Ultron we know from the comics.
No.
I get that. Ultron is one of the biggest bads that the Avengers ever face in the comics. He's like Doctor Doom, Thanos level. But the build up to it and how they got to him and just how much they took of Tony Stark and put it into Ultron, but made it, just the bad guy version of his ego was perfect to me. I mean, like I said, I don't see a problem with it. Yes, I mean, there were some slower moments, but like I said, the beginning starts off, you got the Avengers battling Hydra. I mean, you can't not love it. And then all the running jokes that go through the whole movie and everything. And then you get the introduction of Scarlet Witch.
Yep. You get Vision.
Vision. Quicksilver.
Rip.
It will a very, very Quicksilver. But,
yes.
Like I said, all in all, to me, was a great movie. And somebody had to die in that movie, and they just figured it would be Quicksilver. Somebody they haven't had there for a while, because they shot multiple different scenes at the end who died, and one of them was Hawkeye, one of them was Quicksilver, and one of them was Scarlet Witch. And I think they went with the best one.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely agree on that.
With the whole quip they had against each other the whole movie, Hawkeye, hating on him, nobody would know. Nobody. He had the closest relationship to him.
Yeah. And that's
we're fighting an army of robots, the city is flying, and I have a bow and arrow. None of this makes sense. I mean, come on.
I very much enjoyed the movie.
I loved Ultron's ego, and like I said, Spade playing him. Like I said, his voice was fantastic.
Yeah. James Spader is he is a consummate professional actor.
Yes,
he is.
Yes, and like I said, as far as, of course, the story on any movie could have been better, and that's just coming from a comic book perspective person. But as a cinematic person, you can't not like it. Like, the movie was great. I mean, that's all there is to it. It shows Tony, trying to protect the world.
Right. And
people disagreeing with him. And then, Ultron coming up, during the whole party scene, which was fantastic. You had Stan Lee and his cameo during the end and all that. You had Sam Wilson and, everybody else show up during the party scene. Like I said, it was great. It tied a whole bunch together. And you got to introduce 3 new characters who ultimately changed the MCU.
Absolutely right. Scarlet Witch, Vision, I hate Quicksilver went out so quick, but I understand they had to do it. I get it, and that was definitely the better choice, because the relationship between Wanda Maximoff and Vision, it's a big deal in the comics.
And they ran with it.
It was a big deal in the MCU, and I loved it. I think it was great. They did a fantastic job with it. Well done.
Definitely.
There are some issues with the movie, but you know what? Overall, I give it like a 7.5, 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I give it a solid 8 out of 10, 100%.
Right on. And now, on to the finale of Phase 2. We've got Ant-Man. I loved it, dude. I very much enjoyed Ant-Man. And I believe you said earlier you freaking loved it.
It's one of the best solo movies, in personal opinion. I mean, not including like second solo movies like Winter Soldier and such, but like I said, Iron Man, Ant-Man, Doctor Strange. To me, best solo movies out there.
Yeah, best origin films.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
We will brook no disagreement. Come at us. You will lose that fight.
Yeah, swear to God, bro. Swear to God.
But I thought it was fantastic they went with Scott Lang instead of Hank Pym as Ant-Man in the MCU. Having Hank as the mentor character,
Genius.
great move. And bringing on really, I'm just having brain farts all over the place, man. Who played Hank Pym, dude? I can't believe I've
Oh my
forgotten his
God.
name.
Are you really doing this?
I am. I'm sorry.
Sheen, bro. Sheen.
Not a Sheen. Let's see. I'm so disappointed in myself. I'm so absolutely disappointed in myself. I can't believe it disappoints me. Anyways, fantastic. Well done. Great job on all accounts. They did such a wonderful job with the movie, getting Scott Lang out there, having him overcome his own issues and everything, and
Michael Douglas.
oh, that's yeah. I was trying to remember because his dad's Kirk Douglas. Yeah, thank you, buddy. Thank you.
Don't thank me. Thank Google.
But yeah, Michael Douglas.
My mind went blank too. But go
I
ahead.
hate when that happens, dude. And I've seen him in so much, and that's what disappoints me. The game is fantastic. Just saying. Anyways, yeah, they did a fantastic job with it. The only thing I didn't like...
Be right back. Go ahead.
Yeah. The only thing I didn't like about the movie was the way they did Yellow Jacket. In the comics, Yellow Jacket is Hank Pym. He kind of loses his mind a little bit. After some stuff happens, he can't quite cope with the fact that he is a pacifist and he has to fight, and sometimes that fighting results in loss of life, and he loses his mind and he becomes Yellow Jacket. But all in all, still an absolutely fantastic movie. Scott learning how to use the suit, how to shift down and everything, and learning how to hop between full size and micro.
Oh man, they nailed it.
They really did. And honestly, when Anthony died, that kind of broke my heart, dude. I'm not even gonna lie. How do you get attached to a freaking flying ant?
Well, I just love how they tied in, how he was supposed to rob an old Stark, storage building, and it ended up being the new Avengers Tower.
Right.
After, the one they built after Age of Ultron. I just thought that was hilarious. He's like, Hank Pym, you dick.
Yeah, Hank, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. And
they brought in Falcon, which was an awesome fight. It was funny. It was good. Like I said, it really helped tie everything in. And then, of course, the end scene with Luis, telling the story about Falcon looking for him and everything, Which I'm going to go ahead and say now, spoiler alert, I can't wait to see the 30-minute session of Luis, recapping the whole snap and everything.
Yes, I'm going to laugh my ass off. I can already feel it now. Like Michael Pena, I think he's fantastic. He's entertaining and whatever. Much props to him in Fury, man. God, I love that film.
One of my top faves right there. Fury is just so great of a movie. You can't not love it. Like I said, he nails it. But like I said, when it comes to Ant-Man, he nails that too. He's so funny.
And just quick, just mouth.
Yeah, exactly. He's so quick on it. It's like, everything's almost just like off the top of his head, which they said, in a lot of the interviews was.
Yeah. And, with that, let's face facts here. Hope Van Dyne, she, really Hope Pym, let's be honest. But
yeah.
she is more capable than Scott in every way, but the very fact that Hank can't bear the thought of losing his daughter the way he lost his wife, the way he lost Janet, and selecting a guy who would make a decent successor to the Ant-Man legacy was really funny to me. It's supposed to be really touching and everything else, and it is.
It is, but through the whole movie, she's just like, really? This guy? Really?
Yeah, and the whole joke is, well, he's expendable if nothing else. It's like, son of a bitch, really?
And he turns out being one of the greatest.
Yes. Oh gosh, yeah. He gets his spot in the limelight later on. Actually, he gets some limelight in this one here. Captain America: Civil War, the first of Phase 3.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
Avengers 2.5.
Yeah, I saw this one 3 times in the theaters too.
Oh God! And one of those times was you and I, if I'm not mistaken.
It was me and you, and then me and my father, and then me and my father and his friend. I mean, it is what it is, but when it comes to Captain America and you're talking Civil War, and you got, I mean, it's a Captain America movie, and you've got every Avenger and every non-Avenger in the movie. Yep. How can you not go see it multiple times?
Got to see the new Spider-Man for the first time. Got T'Challa the Black Panther.
I mean, it brought in and set up for so much, and the storyline to me was great. How they played it out about Bucky and all that. A lot of people complained, "Go fuck yourself." And like I said, it's the MCU. It's not the comics, people. Come on. Like I said, the way they played it out, I loved it. Only thing I didn't love, which I will agree with a lot of the people, a lot of the critics, Zemo.
Yeah, that was really disappointing.
I mean, Zemo is one of Captain America's biggest bads that he faces a lot. And not just Captain America. I mean, Zemo goes against everybody, from Captain America to the Punisher to the Avengers multiple times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Baron Zemo is Hydra incarnate. He is aristocratic. He's intelligent. He is ruthless. He is the personification of Hydra. People talk about that with, the Red Skull and stuff like that. Oh, he's the leader of Hydra and all this. Yeah, he's the leader. He's a figurehead. He is Roter Totenkopf. He is the Red Skull.
Right. He is the Red Skull's replacement.
Yeah,
I mean,
he is a fantastic
to say, but the way they played it off Age of Ultron, like I said, it made sense. I love the story, and you cannot complain about every fight scene that they had.
No,
because it was all just so amazing. Like, you just cannot not enjoy it.
The airport scene, the Leipzig airport scene.
Oh, come on.
It's so amazing.
I mean, even the scene, that Bucky breaks out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like, come on. Or, Captain America, or, going to Bucky's place and telling him, like, hey, there's some people on the way here. They're not looking to take you in. They're going to try to kill you. Like, it's just like, that's a good idea, because I'm gonna fuck them up. Like I said, they play everything so perfect, and with Captain America taking Bucky's side on everything, because he had the right to do that. And a lot of people take Iron Man's side. Bucky killed his parents. I get that. Mm-hmm. That's a grudge. It's hard to let go of. Captain America knew about it, but you got to take into consideration Bucky was mind controlled. He was under the control of Hydra. I mean, hell, he tried to kill Captain America multiple times in Winter Soldier.
His best friend.
Yeah, exactly. He had no idea. It's like, I mean, I get where Iron Man was coming from. Tony Stark, you had a reason to do what you did, but you lost.
Yep. You were on the wrong side. Glad you realized it at the last moment, but then you just had to go fuck it up again.
Yep.
But I just...
God, Oh man.
Yeah. Now he did put up a fight because Tony's not a
Oh,
brawl.
100%. I mean, he was by himself. You know
Uh-huh.
what I mean? He took their side, walking into that lab, everything. And he saw the clip.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he took them both on. I mean, he blew off his arm. He blew off Bucky's arm. I mean, Cap was whooping his ass until he analyzed his fight pattern.
Yep.
And that's what he said. Let's kick his ass. And he did. I mean, like I said, I'll give it to him 100%. But like I said, they both work together. Cap tells him, I can do this all day, just like he always does.
And such a
But
great
just that
freaking
one
callback.
split second where Bucky distracted him,
Mm-hmm.
gave Cap the moment to grab him, pick the whole Iron Man suit up, go down, pretty much break the neck of the Iron Man suit, and literally he could have killed him,
Yes.
but he just destroyed the power cell to it.
Yeah.
Because he knew it, I mean, it wasn't connected to Tony's chest at that point.
Yeah. He had the surgery in 3, and it was all the
Right.
suit at that point.
Right. All right. And Cap knew what he was doing. He didn't want to kill him. He just wanted to stop him.
That's exactly right. And can I just say, the score for that entire movie, the music, holy cow! Whoever composed and conducted that score for that movie was
Bravo.
fantastic. Like I'm envisioning the fight scene, and I just hear that dun 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 dun. It's just like oh.
I know, it gives you chills
It
when you
really
think about
does.
it. Like I said, it was so great.
Oh, and just one of my favorite parts of the movie too. The first time Scott Lang goes Giant Man.
Oh, that laugh is unforgettable. Exactly. Where he's holding War Machine like a toy.
Yes.
He's looking at him and turning him like, oh.
Oh, little dude's big now. Little dude's big.
Yeah.
Oh.
I got something really big. It might cut me in half, but don't stop for me.
It's like,
Yeah, don't come back.
it's like, I only done it once
In a lab, and I passed out.
God almighty. But it was just what they needed at the perfect time, and it was so funny.
Oh, it was so
And, and of course, you get
like I said, little dude's big now. Little dude's big.
Off of that one, then we get another amazing origin story solo entry, Doctor Strange.
Oh God!
Yes,
The most best visual effect movie out there. I mean, come on, you got to give it to him. Like, God, the visual effects were just so amazing. Like, oh man, like they said, people were thrown up into the theaters. That it was like, so mesmerizing and just, changing and alternate and just, oh God, dude, you just cannot love it.
It's so they did so well. It was perfect casting. Benedict Cumberbatch was the perfect Stephen Strange.
Absolutely.
They just nailed it. They got the look from the comics just perfect.
I mean, they nailed everything. And not only that, before we go through the movie, the end scene, they set it up for the perfect villain.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, like, and the Ancient One, gosh, she nailed it. And the way they brought her back in Endgame was just so amazing how they tied so much together.
They did so good. And I will say this, a lot of people, I remember the controversy where they were claiming whitewashing with, the Ancient One, where her character had been like Tibetan in the comics. He's an old Tibetan man and all this other stuff. And they cast, I can't remember her name, super androgynous person. Anyways, and I just want to make it clear now, the reason they cast her, you have to understand there's a little bit of a political kerfuffle between China and Tibet. China says they own Tibet. Tibetans say, no, you don't. There's been terrorism, honestly, on both sides. and a lot of stuff there. So we have to remember that these movies are not just made for an American audience. Predominantly it's America, yes, but they are also made as the secondary big market for China.
I mean, they make half their money here and half their money everywhere else in the world.
Exactly. And China is a huge chunk of that money.
And by the way, her name is Tilda Swinton.
Tilda Swinton, thank you. She was a fantastic Gabriel in Constantine, by the way. I still like watching that movie.
Me too. That is
this
great
is really great. Well, Keanu Reeves. How could you not like movies he's in?
I mean, come on. Everybody loves him, and if you hate him, go fuck yourself.
If you hate him, we hate you.
Yeah. I hope your puppy dies and John Wick comes for you.
No. Well done. Well said. But yeah, you don't piss off your second largest market for your film. And that's exactly what they would have done if they had cast a Tibetan actor as the Ancient One. They did what they had to do. People can be upset about it, whatever. They explained it in the movie. She's a Celt. She's been around forever. Okay, so we've got that out of the way. This movie's fucking amazing. It's fantastic. The villain, Caecilius, he's imposing in a way, because he is essentially on the same power level as the Sorcerer Supreme. After he gets his little enhancements from Dormammu, and that's another great thing. The the confrontation with Dormammu, just doing it over and over and over again until he finally just gets tired of having to redo it all. Yeah, that was really clever.
That was fantastic. But it's not only that, but like they show in Endgame, spoiler alert, how Hulk goes up to her and he's like, Doctor Strange get to her. She's like, well, Strange is meant to be the best of us.
Mm-hmm.
She already knew then that Doctor Strange was coming to take her spot as the Sorcerer Supreme. Like, that says so much. Like, that just brings it back, like I said, 4 or 5 years to his movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it just shows, like, the way she treated him the way she did for a reason, to push him to go beyond his limits. And he's such a genius man. And like he says in the movie, he has a photographic memory. He can remember everything.
Yeah.
And he plays his part just so well. And one thing that was disappointing is they, mention before his car accident, he's on the phone, and they mention Rhodey's accident, in Civil War,
mm-hmm.
and then they mentioned Captain Marvel, but they never played on that, and that really, really irked me when they didn't play on what they set up.
Right. Yeah, that was a loose end that really should have been picked back up. It was really disappointing, and I think had they played off that and gotten a different actor, Captain Marvel, yeah, could have been a really
okay, people, look, it's not like we don't like Captain Marvel. The movie was good, the plot was good, the actor is terrible. Okay,
yeah,
she did not act in this movie.
No.
Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. She did not act. She had one persona. That was it. She had one face. And she pushed the, no offense, feminism political agenda, which I'm not about political anything. I just like the comics. When you say Captain Marvel, I want to see Captain Marvel.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's just on a side note. I'm not trying to hurt nobody's feelings, but
yeah, we like more apolitical entertainment, and I'll be completely honest.
Open-minded.
Yes, absolutely. And I love X-Men. I love how it started out pretty much as an allegory for the civil rights movement, with Professor X and the X-Men representing Martin Luther King and the peaceful civil disobedience aspect of it, and then Magneto and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants representing, the more militant Malcolm X and, the Brotherhood of Islam and things like that. or Nation of Islam, all that. That was great, but it
Right,
was
right.
allegory. It wasn't beating you over the head with a message until you're sick of it.
Well, it's not just that; it's just the way she acted afterwards.
Yes,
But we'll get to that later.
yeah,
But
that comes in just a little bit, folks. Don't
yeah,
worry.
but like I said, sorry, but like I said on Doctor Strange, that really disappointed me. Like I said, he had the option of working on Rhodey, you know, working on Brie Larson, and they really dropped that ball on Brie Larson, on Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that I didn't like about it, but it's still in my top 3 of solo movies.
Definitely.
But yes, like I said, it's definitely top tier.
Absolutely. And then after Doctor Strange, we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Oh man. I did not like this one as much as the first. I still really enjoyed this movie.
You can't not enjoy the Guardians movies.
It's impossible. It really is. And I think they did a fantastic job with it. The story came off a little bit more bland than the first one. And I heard a lot of people talk about oh, it was toxic and sexist, the sense of humor they had for the movie. And it's like, get over yourself. Everybody gets made fun of in these movies. Everybody gets a shot taken at them.
All do. And it's not that, though. It's the only thing that got me was I love Kurt Russell's part as Ego.
Yes.
As his father. It explains how he was able to, withhold the Power Stone. And it explains the whole Guardians 1 at the end scene where she's like, you're half human, half something else. We don't know.
Right.
They filled that void. But they took it a little too extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like to me, but it did tie together, Gamora and her sister and everybody else. Like I said, it tied everybody in there and of course, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. I mean, that's unforgettable. I mean, that's one of the best scenes because he's like, he might have been your father, but he wasn't your daddy, boy. It's just like, you know what?
God.
That touches you right in the feels right there.
I cried like a bitch.
Exactly. Me too.
I shed some tears.
That hits you right in the feels right
does.
there.
It's one of those moments,
He was your daddy, but he wasn't your father, boy.
Yeah.
Come on. Like,
That
he only threatened to eat you because he wanted you to be tougher.
That's right. And
that's all that was saying. Like, and that whole moment right there really made the movie everything it was.
Yes.
To me.
It nailed everything. And then all the Ravagers showing up for the funeral. I mean, rest in peace, Yondu Odonta, man. Great character.
He's coming back, 100%.
I would be absolutely thrilled if they could find some way to bring Yondu back. I think it would cheapen his death in the second movie a little bit.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I honestly think he should stay dead because that's a great way to go out.
Yes,
but like I said, with the whole Ravengers thing, and they brought back the original Guardians in the Ravengers at the funeral.
Mm-hmm.
With Stallone and everybody.
Yeah, Starhound.
Oh God, like it's just like it hits you in the feels, and it shows Howard the Duck again, out on the planet, just having fun.
Oh gosh.
I mean, it was a great movie. You can't not enjoy that movie.
Dead on. Now we've got Spider-Man: Homecoming. What was your opinion on it, Smed?
Okay, well, first of all, they fucked up the timeline in the first 3 minutes of the movie. It was the Battle in New York, which was in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man: Homecoming came out in what, 2016, 17?
17, yeah.
Okay, they said 8 years later. That's where it lost me. But other than that, great Vulture, great Spider-Man. Honestly, the best Spider-Man, top to bottom.
Agreed.
They didn't go through the origin story like we've seen 100 times.
Right.
You know, Aunt May was hot. Okay.
Oh, Marissa Tomei. Golly,
Oh yeah, giggity.
Utes.
Yeah, yink. But like I said, they didn't go through all that, you know, because they'd already established them in Civil War.
Right.
So, you know, it was kind of him proving himself, you know, worthy of being an Avenger, pretty much. And I thought Michael Keaton played a great Vulture, you know, for the plot, the story, everything that they did with it. I thought it was great, except the very first part where they just messed up putting 8 years later instead of 7 or 6. They really messed up on that part. Yeah, and a lot of people complain about that, and I'm not going to be the one to complain about it, but I'm the one, you know, I'll be the one that says, yeah, I noticed that, but it's the MCU. Give them a break. It is what it is. Kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I get it, but come on. It's a movie. You know what? Instead of a 7, they put an 8. Get over it.
Yeah. Oh, wanted to take a quick break, and I can't believe I've missed all these. I'm so disappointed, but they weren't super chats, so we missed them. Our good friend Will Mounts, he was in watching it with us for a little bit, bud, and he left us some little chats here. So we'll read off some of these real quick. He first said, when we were talking about Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. being Tony Stark, he said, yes, he is Tony Stark, like Hugh Jackman is Wolverine.
No doubt, 100%.
At some point, I think we had a little thing where we were talking about Marvel, and he said, that's because Marvel is dumbs, man, and they do some dumb stuff. We got to I'm getting some. Okay, there, it's gone. A beautiful men, LOL. Look, I'm secure enough in my manhood. I can absolutely admit when a man is good looking. I have no problem.
Brad Pitt gets me stiffy.
And okay, when we were talking about the Punisher, he said, "Don't forget Dolph," which, again,
never forget Dolph. But I'm sorry, was a terrible movie.
It was kind of terrible. It has its moments.
Okay, it was. I would say it was better than the 2008 version. Okay,
Yes.
The Warzone. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll give you that one.
Absolutely, it was better than Warzone. When we discussed Thor, Thor was okay. I did love seeing Loki get whacked. Yes, okay, yeah, that's always fun. Yeah, and the Warriors 3, Hogan. Oh, DOD, a great cap, still a tool.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, a tool of shield. I'll give him that. But after Winter Soldier, he wasn't. He was kind of his own thing.
Yeah. I think it may have been I think he was just talking about like Chris Evans being a tool.
Okay, well, yeah, I will totally agree on that.
When we discussed Peggy Carter, classy dame, halt. Let's see here. He recognized that game. Hulk Lolly. What the hell? Oh, God. Hulk Loki. Oh, God, yes. Now, that scene in the Avengers was absolutely hilarious when he goes full Hulk smash and Loki's just laying there like,
yeah. Puny God.
Yeah, and when I was discussing that the Mandarin was supposed to be like the Emperor Palpatine character, he said instead of Emperor Palpatine, we got Wimperor Palputine. Oh my good God. And then he signed off.
Agreed.
He said good night. And Will, buddy, thank you for watching. You have a wonderful rest. And hopefully you watch this tomorrow and you get our little shout out towards you. And like I said, $10 super chat, I will pretty much say anything on stream. So
No filter.
No filter, none at all. That's what the tagline says. Unfiltered discussion. It's gonna happen. Now after Homecoming, which I'm in complete agreement with you. I thought it was pretty good. The timeline screw up, it messed with my head for a minute. I did not care.
It
for
is
that.
what it is, though. Like that's just one little thing.
Yeah.
Like people don't need to take it seriously.
Yeah.
It's just one little mix-up that they messed up.
Yep.
That's all it is. And it wasn't, Marvel itself. It was the director
Yes.
because he also did a little bit of screw up in Far From Home, which we'll come to later. But
Yep.
okay, but after Homecoming, go ahead.
Well, I just want to say Michael Keaton's Vulture,
Fantastic.
amazing villain. Well done all around. And I love Michael Keaton. And it's so cool seeing him, and remembering when I was a kid, seeing him as Batman and Batman Returns. And now he's the Vulture, a little wrinkled, a little aged, but still kind of got that smirk and that little goofy sense of humor being the villain.
Not only that, yeah, but that's what I was about to say. Being the villain and, like you said, that smirk and just the end credit scene, it's like, I heard you know who Spider-Man is. He's like, well, if I know who he was, he'd be dead. Keeping it to himself because he respects him.
Right.
Because of his daughter and, how he treated him, and he kept everything a secret.
Right. Exactly right.
So, I mean, you got to give it to him on that. But that kind of sets it up. I won't say Sinister Six because, Far From Home's already came out. We'll get to that later. But like I said, it kind of sets it up for that.
Agreed. Definitely sets it up. But then we had Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, man.
Dude.
If you hate this movie, quit listening.
Yeah, absolutely. We just shoot. Go on. Get out of here. But
get out of here.
But Taika Waititi, dude, that director, I love his stuff. If you haven't seen it yet, Smed, there is a fantastic movie he did a few years back, and it's him and Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords and a couple of other guys. It's called What We Do in the Shadows. And it's kind of like a documentary about vampires living in New Zealand. And they're all, like the stuffy upper crusts kind of deals, the classical Bram Stoker's Dracula vampires. Yeah, absolutely freaking hilarious, dude. It is amazing.
And I could see it being great. And you know what? I'm going to watch it when we're done doing this podcast. But, I mean, just the whole movie from beginning to end was fantastic. And the guy nailed Korg.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he made Korg interesting, hilarious, and so blunt at the same time. It's unexplainable. Like, I mean, it really is.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, I think with the humor and everything, Chris Hemsworth could have carried this film if nobody else had been in it. As far as, big name actors and opponents and such. But Jeff Goldblum as the Grandmaster, Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie, Cate Blanchett as Hela, Mark Ruffalo reprising his role as Bruce Banner the Hulk.
Who disappeared after Age of Ultron.
Yes.
Nobody knew where he went, by the way.
Disappeared somewhere over the Indian Ocean and just gone. Absolutely freaking great movie.
I mean, just fantastic. I can't say enough about this movie. It made me laugh. It was serious. It had the greatest fight scenes. It introduced, like you were saying, so many new characters. Mm-hmm. And just golly, man, it was just awesome. I mean, you can't not enjoy this movie. I mean, it made over $1 billion for a reason.
Absolutely. And honestly, this to me kind of nailed the Jack Kirby Marvel feel with the bright colors, the rainbow hues and everything. It really nailed his art style in a movie sense, in a cinematic element.
No. Totally get it. I mean, they really did. And like I said, not only that, it was just, like I said earlier, the people complaining about, Thor's voice changing and, blah, blah, blah. It's like, look, he battled with the Avengers for years. He stayed on Earth for a long time. He got used to their voice. It's gonna change.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He gets used to their tone. This is the MCU, not the comic books Thor. People got to remember that. And, you know, I mean, I get that part. And like I said, just the whole movie in general, I can't tell you, I can't count how many times I've seen this movie because it is so great, so hilarious, and just so awesome from top to bottom. Like, I mean, you cannot not watch it.
It's you don't get bored with it. That's the great
Exactly.
thing.
Exactly.
It's I again, like you said, I've watched it a bunch of times myself, and I still love to watch it. Like, there's not a point where I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna skip over this. No, if it comes up in my feed, you know, whatever I happen to be using as far as a streaming service, I'm like, ooh, Thor Ragnarok, click.
Exactly, and it's not only that. I mean, it's just the little things like at the beginning, including Doctor Strange.
Yes.
You know, or at the beginning, like you brought up, him in the fight versus Surtur. Like, it's just so amazing. Like, it shows Thor being Thor, knowing his power and knowing how powerful he is, doing what he does, but still has more to learn. And then at the end, it shows what he has to learn in the ultimate ending is that, you know, his hammer was just pretty much how would you say it?
It was a conductor.
Right. It was a conductor of his power. It just helped him
a focus point.
Right. It helped him control it.
But he is, no matter what,
the god of thunder.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And it showed that.
And
I love, I mean, in the music, everything, like I said, especially at the ending. I mean, when you played Led Zeppelin, everything's awesome. You know, it's always better, but it was just the perfect moment for the perfect song. I mean, the whole movie was fantastic.
Supremely well done.
I mean, I have no complaints.
None. I'm right there with you. I can't complain about the movie. Taika, buddy, great job. And you did fantastic as Korg also. Great freaking just brevity with that character. Piss off, Ghost.
Yeah. Just a little rock, paper, scissors joke for you.
Big rock monster, but you know, living rock. No reason to be afraid unless you're made out of scissors.
This is me, scissors for hands. Just a little rock, paper, scissors jokes for you.
Oh God, great movie. And then that was followed up by Black Panther. Oh man.
Okay.
Go ahead. Let me get your opinion on this.
Black Panther. Great movie. Love the plot. And I will say, with this movie and a lot of the other Marvel movies, like so many origin movies in the Marvel, you know, the MCU that we've covered, have the bad guy having the bad guy's powers, but being evil. Okay, that was one thing. I get that because that's all over the, you know, Marvel comic universe. So that's one thing. I love the movie. The CGI was not great in the fight scenes.
No.
Okay, it really wasn't, and it was very disappointing.
Fell very short. Yeah.
I know it did good in the box office, but that's because of the political agenda it was pushing, and I will say that out loud with no regrets because that's exactly what happened.
Agreed.
You know, it was pushing the, you know, African American agenda, blah blah blah. I get it. Look, you know, the first real, you know, black superhero. I get it.
Yeah, and you know, it's the first black lead superhero in the MCU.
In the MCU, yeah, I was about to say. I mean, they forgot about Blade and
Yeah,
all the others.
they do, and several of them, are parodies, like Meteor Man and
Or
Blank
even
Man.
Rhodey. I mean,
Again,
or Falcon
yeah,
or
Sam
anybody
Wilson,
else.
yeah, and
They're all side characters. I
right,
get that,
right, and
but
complete,
overall, the movie I did like. I loved
yeah,
the movie. I
yeah.
did. Like I said, I went and saw it in theaters twice. I thought it was a good movie, but
Mhm.
the CGI was terrible
It
to me,
was.
especially the in-fight scene. It made it that much
Oh,
worse.
yeah.
Killmonger to me was good. I did like Michael B. Jordan,
Mm-hmm.
great actor. He did good as it. Playing his part with the storyline. I loved it. Um, but overall, I mean, to me, it was a 7.6, 7.7 movie.
I would definitely agree with that. My biggest issue is, as far as story and everything went, the first two acts of the film were fantastic. Like,
Yes,
just
yes.
great. I loved everything about. I love the visuals. I love seeing Wakanda in
About to
full.
say, yes, they introduced Wakanda, they introduced their traditions,
Mm-hmm.
everything about it.
So cool.
My favorite part, M'Baku.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, no doubt about it. M'Baku, he made that movie.
M'Baku the Man Ape is just and he's an awesome villain for Black Panther in the comics too. Like, he's super strong, absolutely vicious, and in this one I was really glad they didn't take him the villain route. They just left him as kind of an antagonistic ally in a sense.
Right. I mean, when he showed up, they're like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "It's challenge day.
Exactly.
I'm here to prove myself." Like,
And it
what do you mean? What am I doing here?
why would you ask that question, you
Yeah,
idiot?
I mean, come on. Like I said, he played the perfect M'Baku. I mean, he was perfect in Infinity War. He was perfect in Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I loved all that about it. And Michael B. Jordan was a good antagonist and
Mm.
a good bad guy. And introducing, or not introducing, having Ulysses Claw in there as well, bringing him back from Age of Ultron.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
It
blah blah blah. But they killed him off
Yeah.
way too quick.
And honestly, I think if they had done maybe a little bit different, if they'd gone a little bit different route, maybe he gets wounded, but he gets away, setting him up for a future film. Because
Right.
Ulysses Claw is a big time opponent of the Black Panther, just
Oh
like
no, he is
M'Baku
like
is.
one of the top
Yeah,
two, maybe I would say maybe three
I'd
top
classify him
opponents.
almost kind of like a Norman Osborn to T'Challa's Spider-Man, essentially.
Right.
That's what I would classify him as, because he's always constantly, he's after the vibranium. He wants it. That is his entire existence. He wants that material wealth. He
And
doesn't
he's
care
been
about
all over the Black Panther comics for decades.
forever,
Like
dude. Forever.
he hasn't gone away.
Mm-mm.
And like I said, that's the one thing that was disappointing. Like I said, the one thing that really turned me off, especially on the last fight, like I said, was the CGI. The
It
CGI just really on that last fight was, I'm sorry to anybody listening who takes this offensive, was terrible.
Yeah.
It was
It was
terrible. When
bad.
you go from Doctor Strange CGI to Black Panther, who was 2 years later,
Yeah.
what the hell are you doing?
It's like they spent the entire CGI budget on Wakanda and
They
didn't
did.
have
That's
anything.
exactly what happened.
Yeah.
They spent it on Wakanda and the outfits.
Yeah. Just it was very disappointing on the CGI front. The last act of the movie was disappointing. It seemed like it just ran out of steam after building and
Right.
building and building. There was no really good payoff at the end, so it disappointed me a little bit.
Right, right. But like I said, the whole plot point I get and I
Mm,
loved it. But like you were saying, the whole build up, and then disappointment. It was, the first half of the movie was awesome. The
right.
second half was really downhill, except for M'Baku,
Yeah.
to me.
No.
I
Agreed.
mean,
Agreed.
that's really all I got to say about the movie. I mean, I thought it was a good movie.
Mm.
I didn't think it was great.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. And honestly, I think They did wind up winning an Academy Award for Best Costume, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Correct. Yes, they did.
Yeah.
They won best costume.
Fantastic
Yes,
costumes. Yeah, they did
right.
great. Like the wardrobe design
And
team.
yes, and all the wardrobes they took from different colonies and different
Yeah, all the different African cultures and
cultures and everything all over
Bantu
Africa.
and Khoisan.
Yes, they put it into one video. They kind of took it all into one, which I thought was fantastic, and they did a great job on that.
Yeah.
And they had a lot of really good actors in there.
Yes. Oh yes, a lot
Like I
of.
said, and it peaked, and then an hour into the movie, it just started peaking down.
Yeah.
And that was my whole thing. Was like I said, the last fight really ruined it. But killing Claw off shouldn't have killed him off the way it happened. At least,
Agreed.
That was a terrible story plot. But all in all, like I said, I saw the movie in theaters twice. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I did. Like I said, I thought it was a good movie. I didn't think it was great. I always see at least every movie twice just to make sure I catch everything.
Exactly, and that's a really, really good practice to go with, people. If you're if you're gonna give money to Disney anyways, go ahead and give it to them twice. Watch them, try to catch everything you can, especially if you've been into the comics forever. You might be disappointed the first watch through. A movie that's coming up here in just a couple. I was just disgusted by it at first, and then I watched it again, and I was like, it's not as bad as, the first time around watching it. But after Black Panther, we had the first of the final Avengers movies, Infinity War. Oh my God.
Oh boy.
A lot of people complained that it felt like the movie was too busy, like they couldn't keep up with everything, like it would jump from one group to another. I just have to say to that, what are you smoking, and how high were you when you watched the film? Yeah, you have jump cuts and stuff like that between the groups, but it's not hard to keep up with, in my opinion. Now, I'm no dummy, so if you have an IQ of 80, that might have been a tough thing to keep up with. But I didn't have a problem with that, and I thought the movie was actually really awesome. I really...
No. I have to agree. And a lot of people that I've been seeing and reading think Infinity War was better than Endgame. Which, on a lot of points and plots, I get, and I have to agree.
Yeah, I agree
because, like you're saying, if you're watching the movie and you hadn't seen all the other movies, what were you smoking before you even made that decision?
Right.
Because it ties in everything perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I said, to the whole point, the plot, and they nailed Thanos to the T.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
they did.
I mean, like I said, in Infinity War, it showed him he wasn't even trying to fight anybody. He was just there. He was like, fuck it, I'm getting the stones. I don't care what anybody does to get in my way. I'll just get rid of them. I'm getting the stones. I'm doing what I set out to do instead of letting everybody else do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Which they set up through the whole entire MCU if you haven't paid attention. Which is a lot of the biggest problem of people in the MCU. They don't pay that much attention to it. Yeah. And they're like, oh, well, there's this plot hole and this plot hole. It's like, no, just listen to the story. It's not a comic book. It's a movie.
Yep.
And they've tied them all together perfectly. And like I said, I've never heard so many people cry at the ending of a movie.
Oh, I know. I went.
I'm talking kids, adults, everybody. After the snap, everybody disappears and it ends. And
yeah.
It's quiet. And all you hear is just snuffles and kids crying, parents crying, everybody. Like, and I personally feel them. It's just, I knew what was coming. I just didn't think it would end on that.
Right.
So
That
it was,
was
it was a heart drop at the end of it. It was like, oh
yes.
my God, they're ending on that. It's like, oh, like that's terrible, but it's so perfect. Like,
Yeah,
oh my
and
God, like
just
the Avengers just lost. And
silence
not
as the
not just
credits are
the
going.
Avengers, everybody just
Everybody,
lost.
the whole freaking universe just lost
Yeah.
to
And
one dude.
half of it is gone. And
White.
there's nothing you can do about it. And like I said, it showed the not human, but humanity side of Thanos that still cares, like
Mm-hmm.
sacrificing his own daughter and crying.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Or just the face off against the Guardians where, he tells Peter Quill after he tries to shoot Gamora, he's like, I like you.
Yep.
You're willing to take that sacrifice to stop me.
Yep.
Kind of thing. Just little things like that. Like I said, it picks up right after, Thor Ragnarok. Like I said, it's just an amazing movie, top to bottom, and the last fight scenes are just amazing. The fight on Titan and the fight in Wakanda,
Oh my
it's
gosh, dude.
it's so hard. Like that is the second best end fights in the MCU, and a lot of people disagree and would say Endgame has the best end fight, which I would have to agree with them.
Agreed. Yeah.
But like I said, those end fights were just so awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yes,
like, all right, we got to protect Vision until the stone's out of his head. We're going to do whatever we got to do.
Yep. And boy, were
and,
they.
And then Tony Stark brought the fight to him, which is his ego, taking over. I say we take the fight to him.
Yep.
And he's got Doctor Strange and Spider-Man and, the entire Guardians of the Galaxy and everybody else, And it all added up so perfectly. Like, gosh, you can't knock it out of the park no more than that, except to me for Endgame.
Agreed. Freaking A, man. It was Infinity War was such a well done summation of the first 10 years of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, all culminating in one final event that
everybody loses.
Yes.
That's what shocked so many people. Everybody's like, oh, it's Infinity War. Thanos is going to snap in the middle of the movie, and the rest of the Avengers that's left is going to come back and win.
It's like,
Nope.
Expectations dashed.
Yes, I'm talking knife in the heart.
That's what it felt
Thanos
like.
Snaps and half the universe dies, and the end.
And I will say
that just the amount I've seen it 3 times in theaters, and every time the amount of people crying, tearing up, sniffling, kids yelling and crying, I couldn't tell you.
Oh,
but it's such a great movie.
It is.
Like, I mean, just top to bottom. Like, it is just it pulls everything together so well, and it shows the Thanos side of just how emotional but ruthless he really is on doing what he set out to do in the very beginning.
Oh yeah, and
which is what they set up.
and your first time seeing it in the theater, you had a little funny event go down, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
Please tell us.
Okay. So after the snap, everybody knows, everybody disappears, blah, blah, blah. And then they go back to Cap after everybody disappears on Titan. They go back to Cap and Wakanda. And they're like, what happened? Cap says, we lost. And then it goes black. And it goes to the, directed by blah, blah, blah. And then you hear the sniffles and the cries from the kids and adults. And then I had a guy that was way in the back. He goes, where's Goku? I swear I was the only one in the theater that laughed at that.
Bunch of simpletons, man.
I mean,
oh my gosh.
Dude, that had me rolling so bad. Because it's not only hilarious, it's kind of true. Because if you've ever watched Dragon Ball Z people are so OP, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And Goku could probably take him at the state he's at right now in Dragon Ball Super.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So that's what, like I said, it got all quiet. Everybody died, and people are crying. And then you hear, "Where's Goku, bro?"
I wish I could.
I was the only one laughing in the theater hard, like just out loud. I could not help it. And that was the very first time I saw it.
Oh gosh.
Like it was so like I was feeling so sentimental about what just happened and how they ended it. And then I hear that. Yeah, it was a moment to never forget. I will say that.
Oh gosh. I can't. God.
Like I said, way in the back. Where's Goku?
Somebody buy that man a popcorn.
Of crying and everything. Like, it was perfect timing.
Oh, man.
Like, I mean, I wanted to high five that guy if I knew who he was.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's fantastic. That's good overlap between the anime and the, superhero communities right there.
Right, exactly.
I think of the Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers meme, the clasped hands and the biceps bulging right in. Oh gosh!
Like I said before, if you hadn't watched Dragon Ball Super or anything here lately, you need to, because Goku's always been the strongest. But in the new Dragon Ball Super, Goku is super OP, and he's got something called Ultra Instinct, which is ridiculous. Which is a state of the gods in their universe that some of them can't even contain, which he somehow did multiple times during a tournament.
But if you watch it subbed, because fuck Funimation and their dub. The
dub, they change up the words to where it's not as good. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like, I love the dubs. I record every one of them, but the dubs are not as good as the subs. The words are way better in the subs. I like the voices in the dubs better, of course, because I'm American, I guess. But like I said, in the subs, the words they use are so much more emotional.
Right.
And they make you feel so much more into it. But like I said, hearing that in the theater after Infinity War was just, God, it was, like I said, a moment I'll never forget. Where's Goku?
Well, it's good that we're laughing so much. The next movie we've got up is Ant-Man and the Wasp following Infinity War. What was
Yes.
Now, I didn't like this one quite as much as I enjoyed the first Ant-Man. It was not for any reason like, Hope Van Dyne, getting into things. I love the Wasp. I think it's a great character. I don't like the current like the Invincible Wasp or whatever it is in the comics now. It's just sad. Very sad. It's already canceled again. It's been like relaunched and canceled twice now. It's just terrible.
Yeah, it's not good. No,
but classic like Janet Van Dyne Wasp, fantastic. Working with Hank Pym, Ant-Man, Giant Man. Oh, just that's where I'm at. And this, it kind of brought back some nostalgia for that. Scott Lang and Hope were such a great team in this movie. The whole thing with going into the quantum realm because of Scott going into it by accident in the first movie, and finding out, hey, they can maybe get Janet back, after she disappeared into it during a secret mission to take down a Russian nuclear missile.
Right.
And, Scott being under house arrest like 3 days away from a sentence being up.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Like, at the beginning, when he's playing with his daughter and his foot goes out the fence and they come in there and search it again.
Yep.
They're like, you can't just do this. They're like, well, they can. Well, you can't do this. Yeah, they kind of can. It's like,
honey,
it was really
FBI.
funny, and the fact they opened up a security business and they kept with the original characters with Ti.
Yeah, and of course Michael Pena and
Michael
Louise,
Pena,
and the
like I
other
said,
guy who's apparently a Russian.
yeah, somewhat, Baba Yaga.
Yes.
But like I said, no, I mean overall it was a good movie and it set it up for Endgame so well, especially at the end. I mean, not including the credit scene.
Yeah.
It set it up, after getting her out. I love Ghost. I love the whole storyline they went with.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing her back, especially when it was Scott Lang and what's his name, who originally worked with Hank Pym.
Yeah, Lawrence Fishburne.
Lawrence Fishburne, yeah, who originally worked with him, and they were comparing. He's like, my max was 25 feet. He's like, what's yours? He's like, 65. And he's holding out his hands, sitting there comparing. He's like, all right, let's stop comparing. We got to go. 65. No big deal.
Yeah. That whole mess.
Yeah.
And it was really neat that they brought up, the Goliath project.
Exactly.
Him being Black Goliath.
They really brought it back,
Yes.
to the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
When everything was going on before,
mm-hmm.
his wife disappeared.
And
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, with, they've got the new Will Smith film Gemini Man coming out, and from the trailers, it actually looked good, like the de-aging with the CGI and everything. I think I would honestly love to see in Phase 4 maybe like a prequel Ant-Man that is Michael Douglas and Lawrence Fishburne's characters, and kind of seeing, I'd love to see Black Goliath in a Marvel movie, de-age Lawrence Fishburne, whatever you
that
gotta
would
do.
be great. And you saw in Endgame, they can CGI everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just like you saw in Captain Marvel. I mean, with Nick Fury. I mean, they can make you younger. I would love to see that, but honestly, I highly doubt it.
It would be great,
but it would be fantastic if they did that.
And speaking of Captain Marvel, let's go ahead and jump on into
All right, sorry to disappoint you people who loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good storyline. I do not like the actor. No, I will say it. She's not a good Captain Marvel.
She's not.
And I'm a Marvel comic geek. Like, I know Marvel comics up and down. And I know the MCU is different from the comics. I get that. But her acting abilities during the entire movie was terrible. They did not follow up with the Doctor Strange reference, and they made her too OP, because in the comics she is not, especially not as powerful as Thor with the Odin power and realizing his true power, like he was in Infinity War. He destroyed as many ships or more than she did and killed more than she did in her own movie. And that's what really upset me.
Yeah.
It just it was a good movie, but it was like a Thor Dark World good movie to me.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I put it just above the Dark World and below.
It was just too slow starting. It took an hour for the movie to get going. That was really my biggest problem. And it took an hour for the movie to actually start. Yeah. Unlike other solo, Marvel, starting movies, it took forever for it to get started. Unlike Iron Man or Captain America or Thor or Doctor Strange or Ant-Man, any of those. It took, maybe 30 minutes to get the whole storyline going, which it was a great build-up. Captain Marvel, to me, just was not there. It wasn't it.
Yeah, agreed. And honestly, one of the things that sours me on the movie still, and I try to separate them, like I said, I've watched it a couple of times now. The first time, I have to. I could not get into it, other times it's like, okay, it's not terrible, it's not great, but it's far, it's not the worst MCU film, and it's not the worst film. It's not like Plan 9 from Outer Space or anything. It's not Mono's Hands of Fate. It's nothing you'd see on Mystery Science Theater 3000 or Riff Tracks, okay? But what ruins it a little bit for me and puts a sour taste in my mouth as far as the movie goes are the Breebots. The absolute lunatic numbskulls who will defend this movie until their dying breath, talking about how it's the greatest thing ever, how it's so well done, everything about the movie's good. No. At least be honest and admit the flaws, okay?
It's just like the people that do that with Black Panther.
Yeah.
I tell them, no. Great build up, terrible ending, and terrible CGI. But like I said with Captain Marvel, it's a different story. It's a terrible beginning. It's a good ending.
Yeah.
But it's still, the fact that they're like, we're making Captain Marvel the most powerful character in the MCU. It's like, all right, come on. Like, there's so many lines you can cross from going from the comic books to the MCU. I get that. Yeah. But that's a line you don't cross. Like, she's not even in the B-list strongest characters in the comic universe.
No.
She's in the C-list, like lower C-list, like tier. And you're going to make her the strongest out there? Yeah. Like, that really kind of irks me. And I have nothing against, women of power or anything like that, so don't take it the wrong way. Of course, she was always pushing the feminism movement, and she didn't want to be interviewed by, people,
straight
white people. Yeah. She wanted to be interviewed. Yeah, I thought that was hilarious, by the way.
Yes.
And it's like, you're not helping your movie right now, but, like I said, the whole build up to the movie, it took an hour for the movie to get started.
Yeah, it really did.
And then after that, it was good. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that made it good to me was the Nick Fury parts.
Yes, I mean when Samuel L. Jackson came on, when Nick Fury was in it, he was the comic relief. He did a great job. He was also badass. And shout out, if I'm not mistaken, Huntsville, Alabama, place of birth.
Roger that. Roger that.
Roll Tide. But
that's it. And showing the young Agent Coulson.
Yes, that was hilarious. Coulson with hair.
Yeah. Well, a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit of CGI.
Hairline not quite as far back.
Yeah. But nonetheless, he was in there.
Yes, he was in there. It was good. A lot of the parts in the movie were really good. Overall, again, it's probably a 7.2 or 7.3 for me. I put Thor: The Dark World. I probably put Thor: Dark World at like a 6.5, 6.8, somewhere in there. This was not as bad. I was not bored throughout the entire movie. Like you were saying, toward the end of it, the final, third or half of the movie or so, somewhere in there, was actually really entertaining. The action and everything.
Absolutely.
Is great. But Breebots. She was a space Nazi for the first half of the movie. Get over it. That's what she was. She was a soldier working for an expansionist evil empire, hunting down and killing refugees. She was the Jew Hawk from Inglourious Bastards.
I mean, like I said, it wasn't a bad movie. It's just, God, it hurt. It's like she lost her acting abilities. I mean,
right, and she can act.
She's been in so many movies. I mean, even starting at toward the beginning of her series was 13 going on 30, 21 Jump Street, Room, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, Kong Skull Island. She was better in.
Yeah. I actually loved her in Room. I thought she did a fantastic job.
She did an awesome job in that. And it felt like in Captain Marvel, she didn't captivate the character. She just tried to be a badass, wannabe, no offense, lesbian person.
Pretty much.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's how
just
she acted the entire movie. And
completely phoned it in.
it was like, look, if you're going for that, that's fine, but give me some character to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, don't be a zombie. But like you said, I would still put Thor: The Dark World below that. I mean, 100%. That's probably by far the worst MCU movie.
Agreed.
And I love Thor, but
Yeah.
they redeemed it with Ragnarok. So
yeah. Speaking of Thor, we come to another iteration of Thor, aka Fat Thor, in Avengers Endgame. Go ahead and start us off, Smed.
ooh, where to start? I mean, come on. I mean, half the universe is dead. I mean, where can you start? Golly. I mean, such a great film. Just like Infinity War, start to finish, storyline had action all through it, had great, you know, storylines, plot lines, just everything. Even even more character development on characters that's been in there 10 plus years, and it just made it that much better. You know, it showed Hawkeye's Ronin and Natasha Romanoff still running everything from the Avengers Tower. And she's running everybody in space now. You know, even after they found Thanos after he snapped and killed him, Thor killed him, by the way. You know, chopped his head off.
Yeah, he went for the head.
He went for I mean, smart guy. And but still, you know, and then it goes 5 years later. Like I said, Romanoff's still running everything. Cap's trying to help other people. Thor's pretty much having PTSD after killing him. You know, like you were saying, becomes Fat Thor. And it just, gosh, just such a great movie. And that is, like I said, to me, by far the best battle scene I've ever seen in the MCU.
Without doubt, dude. The
I mean,
final
I still
battle,
get chills every time I watch it, and I've probably seen it 20 plus times.
just watching Cap go to town with again, spoiler alert, mute it for about 5 minutes. If
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't want anything spoiled.
Cat with Mjolnir is
Oh
yeah,
my God.
it's a great, you know, couple minutes. It really is. And it shows how much Cat really studies his other adversaries. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
he knew he could lift the hammer. He got it. Thor's, you know, said, I knew it.
Yeah.
You know, kind of thing. And Cat goes to town on Thanos. But I do love how it shows Thanos's, like, to the heart brutality without stones. It shows just how powerful he really is.
Oh yes.
I mean, it shows just how brutal he really can be. And it shows just how brutal he wasn't in Infinity War. He was just getting stones. He was getting everybody out of his way.
Yep.
He was telling everybody, just stop. Like, I'm getting this done. And that's why at the, you know, beginning of Infinity War, after he got the, you know, he had the Power Stone, you know, they said he destroyed Xandar. After he got the Time Stone, or not the Time Stone, what, the Space Stone, he knew he had it won.
Yep.
And like I said, and in this one, like I said, with all the time travel and the quantum realm, which tied into Ant-Man 2 flawlessly, it really showed his brutality when he came, you know, from the past to the future without the stones, and still took on, you know, Thor, Iron Man with his most, you know, technological suit, you know, ever made, and Captain America. And it really just showed everybody's potential in that whole movie, except for Thor's, which I get, you know what I mean? He's been lazy and PTSD'd kind of for the last 5 years.
Yeah, he been done got out of shape and all that other stuff. Yeah.
Right.
And you know, that will affect even, you know, an Asgardian.
100%. I mean, being drunk for 5 years is going to affect anybody. I mean, even if you're a god.
That's exactly right.
But like I said, just all in all, the entire movie was just fantastic.
Agreed.
You know, from beginning to end. What I tell you after Infinity War, you know, I told you Tony Stark is either going to get found by the last, he's going to make it back by Nebula, or Captain Marvel's going to find him in
Yeah.
space. And
Yeah.
what happened in the first 3 minutes of the movie?
Captain Marvel finds him in space.
Thank you.
Like, God Almighty. But and in all honesty, she was a little more tolerable in Endgame than in her own film. How sad is that?
Yeah,
that really
even
speaks
though
to the
she had
Russo
less than
brothers.
4 minutes,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's what makes it really bad. But
Boy,
I
did
mean,
that piss off a
the
lot of
best
people.
part was when she got hit by Thanos with the Power Stone.
That was funny, and I'll give credit where credit's due. Taking that headbutt like an absolute champ.
Yeah,
All right.
from Thanos with the entire gauntlet full.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give her that
Yeah.
all day long. Like, it showed her power, but Thanos is smarter than that.
Yeah, when he
He was
pulled the
just like, "Oh
stone.
shit, I'm about to lose." Oh yeah, I got these stones.
I will admit, every time I see that part, I
I
laugh
laugh.
my ass off, dude. It's just it's like, ha, take that, bitch. But
But yeah, like I said, I'm sorry. The last fight scene though, when after Thor's beat, after Cap, puts a beating on Thanos for a minute with Mjolnir, and Thanos, overwhelms them anyway.
yeah,
Everything's lost. Iron Man's knocked out. The whole entire building's crashed on top of Ant-Man, Thor and Rocket and War Machine.
mm-hmm.
Cap it really shows the true Captain America, and that's one of my favorite parts, is it shows the true Captain America. He's at all odds against an army he knows he can never win against, even with Mjolnir.
Yep.
The son of a bitch grits his teeth, tightens his half a shield, and walks towards the army. Like, all right, you know what I mean? If I'm going out like a fucking boss.
Yep. Honestly,
And the next thing you know, half the universe shows up
yeah.
thanks to Doctor Strange. And it is just the ultimate roar when you just start hearing the rah,
Yes,
rah.
and just to finally, after 11 years, to
I
hear
mean, God,
Avengers.
it still gives me chills thinking about it. Like, just hearing that roar. Like, I mean, the first thing you see is Black Panther and Okoye, and his sister walk through,
Mm-hmm.
and then you hear the entire Wakanda army behind them. But then you start seeing Asgardians and Ravengers. You even see Howard the fucking Duck. I mean, and then you see everybody from Titan come back with Spider-Man and the Guardians of the Galaxy. And then, I mean, everybody just starts showing up out of nowhere. All these portals, and you just start hearing this roar, and it just gives you chills. I don't care who you are, you watch that movie, it gives you chills.
It's
God.
just such a well done scene, and all credit to the Russo brothers. They are, without doubt,
Bad geniuses.
the best directors in the entire MCU. I give credit to Jon Favreau for Iron Man.
Oh yeah, he started it all. And Iron Man too.
But the Russo brothers, I mean, Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, nailed them.
I mean, to the T.
Just nailed it.
They
And
took storylines, made them to what they need to be and what they should be, in the MCU, and just nailed it. And like I said, Endgame, you couldn't get no better. The time heist, going back to the Battle of New York, going back to the original Guardians of the Galaxy timeline in 2014. I mean, they went everywhere. Went, back to Infinity War, before Thanos got there with Gamora, to see the Red Skull, with Black Widow's ultimate sacrifice, which she fought over with Hawkeye because they couldn't, pick which one wanted to die more, which was weird. But like I said, all in all, just that last fight scene, though. I mean, I'm sorry, you can't top that.
no, best moment in the entire history of the MCU.
Exactly. And then they clash, and you just see lightning bolts, people hitting each other, stabbing each other, and then they pan up and you just see Giant Man come over and just punches Chitauri. The big guy out the sky, and it's just like, oh my god, it makes you think of of Avengers, the first one where it took like Hulk and Thor to take one of those down, and he just punches one out the sky, no big deal.
Yep.
It's just like, oh my god, it brings everything like all together, like so just that chant. I can still hear it. It gives me chills. And I've seen it probably more than 15, 20 times already. 100%. I've seen it more. Hell, I've seen it more than 10 times with you.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Just phenomenal.
Film. Just great ending and great beginning.
Yeah.
To a lot of things.
God, it brought it all back around, man. And 11 years.
Ultimate sacrifices, characters coming to an end with Iron Man and Captain America. Thor, not so really. He's going with the Guardians, so he will be back.
But Black Widow's done.
Black Widow's done. She's still going to have her,
her prequel movie.
Her prequel movie, correct. But
which Taskmaster, I hope they do him justice.
Me too. Oh, they have to. I mean, how can they? I mean, the Taskmaster has taken down some of the top elite Avengers before, so I mean, they better do him justice.
Absolutely have to. Absolutely have to. And now we've wrapped up with Endgame. We got to hit Spider-Man Far From Home real quick. We just saw it last week, or week before.
We saw it opening weekend.
That's right.
And I saw it again with my parents.
Mm-hmm. And oh my goodness, I really enjoyed Far From Home.
They also really tied a lot of storylines together. I mean, from years and years ago. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it. I love the Mysterio.
Yes.
Plot line behind his whole scheme. And it works so well. Like, they really picked the perfect time and plot, everything to make him work the way he does. And it shows Spider-Man's potential, especially, the last hour when he figures out his Peter tingle, a.k.a. Spidey sense. But, it is a fantastic movie. I would highly recommend it. I mean, you have to watch it. You really do. I mean, you have to watch it.
Yeah, and that's it's really, Homecoming was Peter kind of figuring himself out as the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Far From Home is Peter figuring himself out as an Avenger, someone who is not only going to be defending Queens. He has a responsibility not just to New York, but to the world to keep
exactly.
it safe.
And it's not just the world. He thinks he has to replace, who's going to replace Iron Man's place? Because everybody knows he sacrifices himself to bring back half the universe, aka people in the world just think it's half the world. Yeah. And he still keeps himself humble, spoiler alert, and tries to be a kid, but then realizes he has to do what he has to do to save the world. And they played Mysterio and casted him so well.
Oh, yes.
Like I said, the plot, the storyline, just everything works so good together. Even with, like I said, Sam Jackson, like I said, Agent Hill, just everything ties together. Just so awesome with a bunch of different movies. I thought it was great.
Yeah. I think it was a very good decision with Far From Home closing out MCU Phase 3. That was definitely the good call. The way they ended it and everything, that I give them props. I thought maybe they should have ended it with Endgame. Far From Home, good choice. Good choice. Because it sets up the whole next phase.
No, I'm 100% with you. I thought Endgame should have been the end, and then after seeing Far From Home, a couple times, absolutely, that is the perfect ending and segue to the fourth phase.
Agreed.
And I'm so excited to see what they have coming because there's so many opportunities
Oh yes.
to be had. Like they have it so open to everything. I mean, they honestly do that they haven't brought in yet.
Yep.
I
Because
mean,
we've got
the opportunities are endless.
absolutely, and that's the wonderful thing about the MCU. And while I'm a little miffed at Disney with the stuff they've been doing, I can't condone sailing the high seas. I do not condemn it necessarily, but I certainly can't condone it for legal reasons. Um, uh,
I can. Sue me.
but we've got 13 subscribers. Who's going to do anything to us? But
No shit.
but Phase 4, we've got Guardians 3. We've got the Eternals movie, the Black Widow movie. We're supposed to have
Bro,
sequels for Doc
we
Strange and
have
Black
a
Panther.
Namer movie.
Yes, we have got to have the Submariner. This has got to happen.
And that he's already been mentioned in Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
He has to come in. I mean,
Yep.
there was an earthquake in the Atlantic Ocean. And if anybody knows comics, what happened after the snap? There was an earthquake in the Atlantic Ocean from Namor from being so pissed off with half his people and his wife disappearing.
Yep.
It's going to be epic.
And Okoye's line, it was an earthquake in the Atlantic. We deal with it by not dealing with it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That's what Black Widow said. Yeah. How are we going to deal with it? Well, we deal with it by not dealing with it.
Exactly right.
Like I said, it was a quick mention, but it was just a perfect setup. Like I said, they think so far ahead. If you think about all the movies, they really do. I mean, when you bring back, spoiler alert, Mysterio, you bring back something that happened in Captain America: Civil War on the barf technology.
Yep.
Something that he helped create, and then Tony fired him. Which is weird because, I'll go ahead and say it, a lot of the Avengers / solo movies came from Tony Stark's conflicts with people. It has happened. And a lot of their villains, as I said before, are just the same but complete opposite of what they are.
Yeah.
That's one thing that they've read with that should change, that I think, because there's so many different villains for each hero.
Yes.
But setting them up is so much easier doing it that way, and I get it.
It is. We've going into Phase 4, not having all the original Avengers in it. Because Thor's off with the Guardians, Cap's out, Tony's out. And
As Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes. But and Mark Ruffalo, who can't keep his damn mouth shut, and I believe his contract's now up as well.
No, that was made up to make people think that he wasn't going to be in Endgame and have other movies. They said he was still in it, but his arm is permanently messed up, which how can it not be from snapping with the gauntlet? I mean, you saw what happened to Thanos.
Yep.
And he's way more powerful than the Hulk.
Yes, absolutely. He used it twice and he was still vertical. He was
right, exactly.
Weakened extremely so, but given time he would have recovered from it and gotten not to full health, but he would have been enough to maybe put up a better fight than he did in Endgame.
Definitely. And I think they will, give Hulk another chance because he has the best regenerative ability in the Marvel Universe, nonetheless the MCU.
Right.
And I'm sure, spoiler alert, after you see Far From Home, they're probably going to bring in mutants, which they should, which will open up the possibilities, which will help with bringing in Namor and everybody else, and the multiverse, theory and blah blah blah.
Yeah. And if we can just forget that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. ever happened, I think the Inhumans would be a good addition.
And honestly,
the Inhumans show, we need to forget
the
that.
Netflix university as well. So,
yes, I would love to see an MCU Punisher. I want that in
God,
my
and
life. I want an MCU
I
Daredevil.
wish and hope that they keep John Bernthal. I love him as the Punisher.
He's fantastic. He does Frank Castle so well.
I mean, like I said, just his appearance in Daredevil season 2 was
Oh,
he
he
made
made
Daredevil
it.
season
Yeah,
2.
exactly.
And
Exactly.
not only that, his season 1 to me was great. His season 2 was okay, but that
Yeah,
was more storyline than Punisher.
agreed.
I would love to see the same person as Luke Cage come on there. Now, Jessica Jones, they could recast. Daredevil, they should absolutely stay the same.
Hmm.
But yes, having them come up in the MCU now would be phenomenal.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. And I just want to say one thing, and I'm checking our time here, and we have been going for 2.5 hours talking MCU, dude.
Oh, is that all?
That's it, man. It's been a short one.
I'm about to say I could go all night on this.
I know it, man. I know it. But we'll kind of wrap it up. But I just wanted to say, Captain Marvel, there is still room for redemption. If
Oh,
we're,
definitely.
we're not going to recast Brie Larson. I know that's not going to happen.
Yeah, she's got 7 more movies now.
Yeah, she's got a solid contract, and Disney doesn't like throwing out people unless there's no other choice. They're not going to pull a Terrence Howard on him because he's being bitchy and wanting more money than Robert Downey Jr. I was the first one cast for Iron Man. Shut up, Terrence. They need to break Captain Marvel. She needs to be either broken mentally, she needs to be defeated by an opponent that is far more intelligent than she is, and can
Sentry.
yeah yeah, or broken physically. She needs to be beaten, and that would be Sentry or the
Hell,
Void.
I give it to Namor. Namor is a beast.
He really is, and
He doesn't like anybody except Captain America.
right, right, and that's just
And
because he
he
respects
would be
him.
the one that would be ruthless enough to just put in her place to say, "All right, shut up, quit fucking with my ocean."
Yes, absolutely. I could see that happening. And that's my big thing. You have a character who has been blown up so much as far as her powers and her abilities and her
Right,
strength.
right. I mean, she's been literally deemed as the most powerful character so far.
There's no real
Oh, but to
threat
me,
to
I'm
her.
sorry, I'm gonna throw this in there. Wanda Maximoff showed her power in Endgame.
Oh,
She
absolutely.
took on Thanos 1-on-1 and had him beat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yep.
she had him beat.
She would have literally ripped him limb from limb.
I mean, she was tearing apart his armor and everything, which is made of Uru metal. If y'all didn't notice
Mm-hmm.
or know the MCU background, I mean, she is by far the most powerful MCU character.
Without
I mean,
doubt.
I would say like just pound for pound, power for power. I mean, she could just pick Thor up and just start ripping him apart as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely could. And that's the issue I have. She's still vulnerable. She's not impervious to damage.
Not at all.
She can be hurt, she can bleed, she can be killed. Captain Marvel, there is no threat. So there is no tension. When there's no tension, you don't have that feeling of, oh man, are they going to make it out of this okay? What's going to happen next? So they've kind of written themselves into a tough spot for another solo movie that she has.
Right. I
As
mean,
far
like
as
I
what
said,
kind of opponent she's going to have.
even in Endgame, I mean, she shows up at the end, takes out his entire ship, which I get because she did in her movie,
Mm-hmm.
right before it came out. But like I said before, Thor did the same exact thing and more in Infinity War. And I don't care if he's been out of shape for 5 years or not. He's a god.
Yeah.
She got her powers from a cube, and like you said, she's a space Nazi. He is a god.
Yeah. Now I give credit where credit's due. She is trying to make up for it. She realizes she's got a ton of blood on her hands, but Brie Bots, she was a space Nazi for the first half of that film. Except that she wasn't a heroic character in the first half of the film. You can love her all you want for the second half. That's cool. I like the character to a degree, as far as what she's capable of and realizing what she did and wanting to set that right. That's cool with me. I love that kind of stuff. I love redemption arcs. She was a fucking space Nazi. There's no getting around that.
It's just the same way I feel about Black Panther. I mean, like I said, it was pushed on a political agenda.
Yeah.
And the people who are watching it, which were predominantly African American or black people, however you want to take it, and he was pushing the opposite agenda of what you should be wanting to see.
Yeah.
He was trying to keep everything from the world that they had, and at the end, he opened it up to the world to help them.
Yep.
And that was the opposite of what everybody who was going to see it needed.
Yeah, that was
what
they wanted.
Wanted.
It's like, the whole colonizer Africa would be wealthy if not for white people moving in and stealing everything. It's like,
right.
That's an interesting theory.
Yeah. But
but yeah, that was what was so funny to me is the bad guy is someone who wants to take the weaponry of Wakanda and get vengeance for all of the terrible things that happened long ago. And the good guys run a black ethno state that completely keeps out outsiders and does not allow immigration.
Right, at all.
And yeah, that was really funny to me, seeing that from the political perspective. But yeah, they did pandering promotion. I don't like that stuff. I think it's stupid. A movie should be able to stand on its own merits.
I would say starting with Black Panther is where it started. Yeah. And that's what I feel like made Brie Larson go over the edge with her role.
Yeah.
And the director and the entire movie and everything. And if you want to put like feminism and equality, go watch Wonder Woman. Oh, that is a great film.
Great film.
I love DC Universe. That is a great film. Yeah. Aquaman, great film. You know what I mean? Like, just follow that kind of plot point. Yep. And Gal Gadot didn't push that shit on everybody. And that's what Brie Larson really flipped the switch on a lot of people, and I will say including me, that really just pushed them the opposite way.
Yeah. And all that stuff with her rubbed me the wrong way to a degree, but the thing that made me dislike Brie, and I've told you this, I've talked about this with you, but it was the picture she took holding her little Starbucks cup or whatever and like looking longingly over her right shoulder or whatever, and just thinking about Stan, the day after he passed, and I'm just like, you disgusting bitch.
Yeah, you stand for nothing that Stan standed for.
Yes.
Like, you whore. Like, you are whoring Marvel out for your purpose. I'm sorry. No offense, but super offense.
Yes.
because if you take offense to this, you're the problem.
Yeah.
Man. I mean, come on. Come on.
Oh,
take your blinders off. I hate to end on that note, but it's getting late. We got to go. We got actual jobs. And, that was a great segment of Vox Bellator. We got the whole MCU in there in a short version. And coming up Friday on this segment, we will talk the actual Marvel and DC universe, not cinematic.
Amen. We'll be talking the comics, and hopefully we will have Big Papa Smed, our mighty emperor, on with us. If we're lucky, he'll be available to do it. But, brother, I have enjoyed it as always.
As always, Brother Sumo.
And everyone out there, please take care and roll tide.
Roll Tide.